swimming pools, as well as to reduce water usage while the maintenance is underway. Tato Letaba, SABC News, Johannesburg.
And finally, further fold, an unconfirmed number of people have been killed in an explosion at a Shia mosque in the Pakistani capital, Islamabad. A device was detonated during prayers, reportedly by a suicide bomber. The BBC's Kerry Davis has the details.
The explosion happened during Friday prayers when the mosque would have been packed with worshippers. The area has now been sealed off by police. Videos from the scene show ambulance after ambulance arriving. The injured have been taken to Islamabad's two major hospitals, Polyclinic and PIMS. Both have declared a state of emergency. The death toll has risen quickly as police continue their operation.
The top story at 3, controversial businessman Vusmusi Matlala's defense has told the High Court in Johannesburg that they intend on making another application for bail based on new facts. Headlines at 3:30 for SAFM News. I'm Kolofelo Defo.
In sports this hour, Stokes suffers facial injury. Future under review, and players sails no obstacle as Galaxy eye another Nedbank Cup run. More details at 3:30.
Otohodi Oyo have a great plan to dominate the match from the first whistle, while Stellies are mandated to bring back home an envelope with victory. This is the CAF Confederation Cup. AS Otoho versus Stellenbosch FC, the Sunday 8 February at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 2. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Yeah, it's one of those days, Friday afternoon. Big focus, as always, on the Madlanga Commission and also on the Friday Fireside Chat guest we've got coming up just now, which I'll tell you about later on, 5 to 6, someone legend in the legal fraternity. Let me give out those numbers because you need to save them, right? 086 000 2032 to call in live, and then to WhatsApp 0614 104 107. You got that? 0614 104 107. Now, I do know that Suleiman Karim, who would have been one of the witnesses today, appeared and they've agreed that he will testify in March because ill-prepared today after losing that High Court order. That's the one thing. But the person who's dominated the conversations of the last 2 days continues to do so. I'm talking about Brigadier Rachel Machang, and there's a lot to talk about from where she comes from around gifts and friendships and acquaintances and so much and so much more. Now, you can comment right away because we'll bank your comments and save them and then play that as soon as we get a chance. But let's do this, right? Let me not waste much time as we get back now to the Madlanga Commission with specific reference to Brigadier Rachel Machang and in relation to, or her relationship with Vusimuzi Matlala. In fact, we'll get back to that in just a second or so. Let me just tell you as well. So I did say we'll tell you later on about what we're going to do. Let me just try and reconnect properly to the Madlanga Commission right after this.
The Railmen believe a win is more special when defeating giants. Yet Masandawana are confident they are wearing the right boots to triumph on foreign soil. This is the CAF Champions League. Catch FC St. Eloy Lupopo up against Mamelodi Sundowns the Sunday 8 February at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
As the nation seeks answers, SAFM brings you live, uninterrupted coverage of Parliament's Ad Hoc Committee investigating allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. You can also stay up to date with the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into Criminality, Political Interference and Corruption in the Criminal Justice System. Stay informed, stay connected, tune in live on SAFM 104 to 107 and follow the coverage across our digital platforms live on Facebook, X and YouTube at SAFM Radio. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Okay, so as I crossed to the Madlanga Commission, we found they had just adjourned for a short while. So we'll get to them as soon as we can. What's happening right now, however, is a media briefing by the SAPS and the NPA with relation to the Madlanga Commission. So let's cross to that media briefing right away.
How we are responding decisively on the directives issued by His Excellency President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Ramaphosa, including the implementation of conditions as we continue to strengthen accountability and professionalism and public trust. With regard to the Saver festive season, you'll recall we launched it in October month, started running from there. We launched in October, and we worked right through up to the end of January. The police during that period and the law enforcement agencies conducted 7,726 high-density operations throughout the country, and it also includes the following: 116,434 premises were searched, 4,854 roadblocks were conducted, and 673,235 high visibility patrols were conducted. A total of 106,715 legal premises were inspected, with a total of 7,682 unlicensed legal premises that were shut down during this period. This is quite significant given the fact that unlicensed legal premises pose a challenge to our society, of course, including some that are licensed, where we experience incidents of shooting and other serious crime are recorded from those premises. With vigor, we will continue with our inspections to ensure that we shut down those operating illegally. As we have seen in the West Rand, one of the liquor outlets didn't really have the genuine license. It was a fake license that they were operating on. The number of suspects arrested sit at a total of 236,887, with 32,308 suspects who were wanted by the detectives for various crimes ranging from business robbery, house robberies, carjackings, murder, rape, and illegal possession of firearms and other crimes. The breakdown of this arrests per crime category is as follows. For murder and attempted murder is 4,029 suspects who were arrested. For rape and attempted rape is 2,693 suspects who were arrested. Majority of those arrested during the festive period were in possession of drugs, bringing the total of those arrested for drug possession to 33,397. And a total of 4,281 drug dealers. Remember, there is difference between possession and dealing. Drug dealers were also arrested during this period. We also noted a high number of drunken drivers arrested, to a total of 15,075 by all other law enforcement agencies, including your metros, municipal police, provincial traffic, and the national traffic. And lastly, a total of 2,498 were arrested for selling alcohol without a valid license. In terms of seizures and recoveries and confiscations, more than 2,000 firearms were seized during this period, with the province of KwaZulu-Natal recovering most of the firearms, with 753, followed by Western Cape at 607 illegal firearms, and the Eastern Cape with 343, and Gauteng with 264. Coming to convictions that happened during this period, And you have to take note that convictions doesn't mean for people arrested during this period. Convictions can come from 3 years, 4, 5, 7, 10 years or more from the previously. But these convictions happen during the festive season period. And during this period, we had 2,738 accused persons who were convicted for time in prison. 199 of these were sentenced to life imprisonment. 15 accused persons were sentenced to 40 years and more imprisonment. 29 of these people were sentenced to 30 years imprisonment and more. 237 accused persons were sentenced to 20 years and more. 910 accused were sentenced to more than 10 years and more. 1,348 accused persons were sentenced between the period of 5 years to 9 years. Coming to the capacitation of detectives, we have also launched, as you are aware, an aggressive capacitation of the detective environment in a bid to strengthen our investigation frontline capacity and improve case resolution. We have since the beginning of the year contracted 264 detectives who left the service in good standing. And remember, last year we also welcomed back 200 or more detectives who were already working on these cases. We are confident that this ongoing strategy of bolstering our detective capacity will go a long way in ensuring those who harm others and commit heinous crimes are brought to book. On the Madlanga Commission, we take this opportunity to appraise you on the work that has already been done, emanating from the evidence that has been given at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry and the other committee. On the 11th of November 2025, I established and appointed a task team of skilled senior officers who were mandated to do the following: monitor evidence led at the commissions, and identify, of course, names of SAPS employees who were implicated to ensure that disciplinary investigations are initiated in cases where there is credible information that may lead to misconduct. This team would ultimately ensure that disciplinary processes are followed in line with the SAPS disciplinary regulations. To date, members whose names were mentioned at both committees have been identified. We cannot at this stage, of course, mention their names, but as the case are still under investigation, all the affected members have received the notices of investigation into the alleged misconduct. And hearings and investigations are at advanced stage, and of course there are those that are already on suspension. From the another four members that have already been served with notice of intended suspension, and we are still considering their representation. You should be aware that there were 5 names from the Madlanga Commission that were referred to us, and one is already suspended, and the others, the investigation is on, but their notice of suspension are under consideration at this stage. We have received also the IPID recommendation of the April 2022 murder of Emmanuel Mpenze. You remember the case of Ekurhuleni. This week we received the recommendation. And it's important to mention that SAPS had already initiated its own internal departmental investigation in this regard. Of course, the criminal investigation was conducted by the IPID. on 2 police officers that are implicated, who were allegedly on the scene of crime when the deceased, Mr. Mpenze, was murdered and dumped into a dam. Following a directive from the presidency, President Ramaphosa, we have established a team that will investigate those implicated in the Madlanga Commission. It is important to note that some of these cases were already been investigated by the Political Killings Task Team, the Organized Crime and the Serious and Violent Crimes units and teams. However, now that there is this team that we have established, it will then take over these referrals and start the investigation. This team comprises of experienced, skilled, specialized detectives, forensic experts, crime intelligence analysts, and operatives, as well as combat members. The team will also include, of course, members from the NPA. I'm sure Advocate Mthibi will talk on that for purposes of prosecutorial guided investigation. This team's mandate include fast-tracking of the finalization of all cases that have been under investigation and referral from the Commission. And this task team include investigating criminal cases that relate to members of the 9 members of Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Police Department. We have full faith and confidence in the team that is made up of experienced and skilled specialists. Together with the NPA, led by the National Joints, we continue to assess and review the safety and security of those who have a role to play at the Commission. We have received a briefing from the Provincial Commissioners of Gauteng with regard to investigation relating to Witness D, and I'm confident that the team is in the right direction, and of course that case is part of what is being investigated by this newly established team. I'll now hand over to Advocate Mthibi, maybe to comment in this regard. I thank you.
Thank you, National Commissioner, senior colleagues from the South African Police Service, all the colleagues that are in the room from SAPS and from the National Prosecuting Authority, and members of the media. I'm standing here to really assure the public that the directive that the President has given for the task team to be established to investigate the matters that the National Commissioner referred to will be supported by the National Prosecuting Authority. NPA appreciates the importance of fast-tracking investigations and prosecutions. Following the interim report submitted by the Madlanga Judicial Commission of Inquiry to the President, as we indicated, we really welcome the decision of the President to recommend the establishment of this task team in response to the recommendations of the Commission. As the National Commissioner indicated, the task team will comprise of investigators and also state advocates, who are state prosecutors. The state advocates and state prosecutors, of course, are allocated to this task team to facilitate what is called prosecutor-guided investigations. As you may be aware, that prosecutor-guided investigations provides real-time guidance to investigators as they gather evidence and real-time assessment of the evidence that's gathered to ultimately enable speedy prosecutorial decision. We are awake to the urgency of these investigations, and we therefore will allocate this state advocates, state prosecutors permanently to this task team. This model is designed to ensure swift and effective investigations that sees prosecutors and investigators working closely and managing investigations which should culminate into prosecution. I'd like to indicate that a related aspect, amongst other aspects, would be the involvement of the asset forfeiture unit. So members of the asset forfeiture unit will also be allocated to the task team. There is that high possibility that as the investigation unfolds, there will be a need for intervention by the asset forfeiture unit. This approach is critical in upholding the rule of law, swift justice, and ensuring that those responsible for the identified criminality are held accountable, thereby enforcing the principle that no one is above the law. By acting promptly on the Commission's interim findings, the law enforcement agencies demonstrate their commitment to transparency, accountability, and helping to rebuild trust in our institutions and the entire criminal justice system, and of course enhancing the rule of law. This will be structured collaborative work undertaken by all partners within the law enforcement agencies with a view to ensure prosecutors present and present formidable cases before our courts. So, National Commissioner, I'd like to assure you, as you lead this team, that we will bring in our support to ensure effective investigations that will lead to prosecutorial decision. As I close, when I was called, I didn't hesitate that I needed to be part of this media briefing, because we needed to give the public the assurance that we are acting on the injunction that the President has given. But I've just been in my office, National Commissioner. This is my 5th working day. I know that we've been receiving, and Mr. Maga there has been informing me on various occasions that there are calls for me to engage with the media. I'd like to assure you that we are not avoiding the media. We will at an appropriate time, and we understand the need to engage. So once I've familiarized myself with the business of NPA, which will of course be speedily, we will indicate when we are ready, where we'll outline the vision, the mission, and the priorities that we will need to engage on. But I can just indicate that in line with the criminal justice expectations, one of the focus areas that we will need to contribute on is to ensure that we support government and the criminal justice system in the fight against organized crime. I'll end it here. Thank you very much, National Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll stop that. So just let me remind you that briefing by the SAPS and the NPA on matters relating to the Madlanga inquiry. That's what you're hearing right now. As far as the Madlanga Commission is concerned, these things are so dynamic. What you plan or what we plan changes by the minute. So that the Madlanga Commission itself has been adjourned until Monday 9:30. So make a note of that, Monday 9:30. That's been adjourned. What's not adjourned is the news. It's 3:30. Here's Kolofelo Tefu.
Thanks, Ashraf, and indeed, good afternoon. In the headlines this hour, the new National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Andy Mutibi, and the National Police Commissioner, Fani Masemola, have started their media briefing on developments in the Madlanga Commission. We'll have details on that later. Controversial businessman Vusmusi Ket Matlala's defense has told the High Court in Johannesburg that they intend on making another bail application based on new facts. Matlala, together with his co-accused, appeared in court today, where their case was postponed to Thursday next week. And finally, KwaZulu-Natal Premier Tamin Duli says they expect the first doses of a nationally procured foot and mouth vaccine batch of 1.5 million doses to reach the province by next week or the week after at the latest. I'll have details at 4 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in Parktown, slow moving towards Houghton Drive. The N1 southbound has delays near Grasmere Services and Malibongwe Drive eastbound in Randburg, a crash near Oxford Street. In KZN, a stationary vehicle on the N2 northbound after Inanda Highway, a stationary vehicle on the N2 southbound after Umgeni Road, and a stationary vehicle on the N3 southbound after Shongweni Interchange. In Cape Town, the M5 southbound slow moving towards Krombum Road. There's a crash on the R300 northbound at the N2 and the N2 outbound slow moving towards Bunga Avenue. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
So, to me, eye on the T20 Cricket World Cup, but there's an injury of sorts, right?
Yes, a very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, England Test captain Ben Stokes has suffered a severe facial injury. This is after being struck by a cricket ball. The 34-year-old posted images of heavy swelling and bruising as he recovers from the latest setback following a disappointing Ashes tour. Stokes, already battling an adductor injury, remains under ECB review but is contracted until 2027, and he will miss the upcoming T20 World Cup and may next feature for Durham before England's Test series against New Zealand in June. In terms of football, TS Galaxy, Adnan Beganovic says that the sale of several key players, most recently Puzo and Kulumane, has not dented his belief that the Rockets can still mount a serious Nedbank Cup challenge this season. Galaxy host Marumo Gallants at the Solomon Mahlangu Stadium on Sunday in the round of 32, aiming to progress and rekindle memories of their remarkable 2019 triumph when they lifted the trophy as a lower division side.
I don't want to say we lose some players. I already explained that we produce and sell our players only because we want that. We decide in crucial moment to sell our players. Also, we can talk about that part honestly and say if we do that and then we struggle, we are on the wrong way. But I think TS Galaxy in last 3 years, yes, we sell so many players, and then for best teams in South Africa.
Meanwhile, Mamelodi Sundowns head coach Miguel Cardoso has once again called for the introduction of VAR, at the same time raising concerns about refereeing conduct.
When we start to have VAR on the matches, that things will go better because there will be no suspicious on no one. Because here in South Africa, it becomes very interesting that the officials from some teams visit the referees in the morning of the matches. You know that? Yeah, but look for that because I saw a photo today. It's important we look for this. I never saw that. First time I see officials from one team visiting the referee from their game night. That happened recently, very recently, maybe yesterday. And that's what you need to worry about in terms of football.
Very shocking allegations coming out from there, just basically questioning the integrity of the game, which always must come first. Elsewhere, Cristiano Ronaldo's future at Al Nassr has been thrown into doubt. This is after Saudi Pro League warned that no individual, however significant, determines decisions beyond their own club. The 41-year-old was left out of Monday's match against Al Riyadh, with reports in Portugal claiming that he refuses to play due to frustrations over the club's management by the Public Investment Fund. BBC Sport understands that Ronaldo's discontent stems from Karim Benzema's move to league leaders Al Hilal, where the French star scored a debut hat-trick in a 6-0 win on Thursday. Both Al Nassr and Al Hilal are controlled by PIF, which also owns Newcastle. Finally, in athletics, South African star Adrian Wilschat is sharpening his form in Potchefstroom. This is ahead of the Absa Run Your City Gqeberha 10 kilometer on the 1st of March, where he is targeting a sub 27-minute performance. Now, Wilschat set the national record at last year's race with 27.28, but that mark was later eclipsed by Maxime at 26.55 in Romania. Now, despite that challenge, Wilschat believes that he can go faster, fresh from a 13th place finish at the World Cross Country Championships in Florida, the best ever by a South African. On that note, it is a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
Okay, perfect. And I'm going to think about that one. Who went to visit the referee this morning? No, think about it. We'll talk about it later on.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Right, so the NPA, SAP is having a briefing related to the Madlanga Commission, and now there's a Q&A which we're going to take in live.
A perception has been created that perhaps the authorities don't know the nature of the crime, you don't know where to start. Is there an update on that? This relates to the activities in the US where they are alleging that there's a white genocide in the country and there's not. Thank you so
much. Thank you very much, General, and to also Advocate Mutibi. We've got those 3 questions from UFM, Newsroom Africa, and the Business Day in that particular order. General, I will then request the National Commissioner just to take us through the responses, followed by Advocate Mutibi. Thank you, General Masamula. Over to you.
Thanks very much. With regard to, firstly, where you talk about there's been 5 members, only 1 is suspended. What happened is that I did indicate in my statement that there are those that has been served with notice of intention to suspend, and after consideration of their representation, a decision will be taken. I wouldn't know what decision is going to be taken, but there has been. But I must also indicate that you should recall that where does this come from? After the July 2025, July 6 public statement by General Mkhonazi, you should recall that there was already investigations. Some of these cases are being investigated. We have seen some people already in court. You should be aware that like Wakati Somolefe is in court, Ket Matlala is in court. So there is people that are already in court. And from SAPS side, a disciplinary team was appointed late last year, and they've started with the investigation, not only on the 5, but those that we find that there is substance in the investigation. We did not rely solely on what come from the commission, Madlanga Commission, but however we relied on a lot of other evidences. Hence, we are investigating a little bit more than only the 5. The time frame for the task team, what we gave them is that they should be finalizing this work in less than 3 months. But of course, we know that it's quite a magnitude of work. But some of the work, as I said, were being investigated in other field, in other task teams or other units. So what one does now, we appointed a team. It's more a consolidation, and we are quite convinced that they should be finished with their work within 3 months. So of course we'll take it from there. I think Mr. Mafokwane from Newsroom, I did answer on this, that we are not necessarily relying on the evidence that we get from the Madlanga Commission. Our investigation is quite broad, and it involves more than those that has been referred. With regard to the CIT, over the period of the festive season, the crimes of cash in transit did reduce drastically. Yes, I'm concerned. I've seen an increase of recent last week and this week, and I did direct the operational people to refocus and make sure that we clamp down on this, those that are trying to take us back where we come from. And I'm sure we'll be able to beat them. I'm sure we have seen in one of the CITs there was a shootout and arrest of some people, and we will continue doing that to make sure that we bring this crime quite down. With regard to the DJ Waras, you say we're looking for somebody with dreadlocks. As you are aware, dreadlocks don't sit on somebody permanently. But at this stage, we are confident we have got the right suspects currently. The first suspect that we arrested, and the second one that have also appeared. We are quite confident they are the right people. And we are still looking for, there might be one more that we are looking for. But yes, I must thank the team that did with this case, because the breakthrough in this case was quite in a very short space of time, and they have got the right people. So one is thankful for the members for the good work they've done. Relying on the commission, I think they have answered that question. The case of Brown Mokgotsi is still under investigation. So at this stage, there's no any other progress, but the case is still under investigation. We'll update you as we go along. With regard to Paulo Sylvan, I am not aware of any case. I don't know if my colleagues they are aware of, but General Sintumule, she answer on the other case. I'm sure she will dwell more on that. Thank you very much. You can go first.
Thank you very much, members of the media. In responding to the question as posed, I am not going to limit my response on what the witness said at the commission, but rather I want to affirm that the report, as requested by the commission when I was there, was compiled and submitted, and that covered the capacity of Forensic Science Laboratory and also the measures that has been taken by the organization to capacitate the environment of forensic, both in terms of human capacity and also infrastructure. I must also say that in this regard, we were given for this financial year 675 posts that were aimed at capacity building within forensic. In terms of crime scene management, they received 600 of those posts, and that is actually aimed at increasing our capacity to be able to respond to crime, and that also will include our ballistic experts. And also we have partnered with the CSIR to expand our laboratories, and with that comes capacity. And as I said, that also covers our ballistic analysis. So we do have people who can respond as and when they expected in terms of our crime scene. And I think I can give an example with the victim of yesterday who also was implicated in the Madlanga Commission, that the team was there. I think you saw them. And therefore, we do have capacity to respond. I thank you.
Right, there's a question posed to NPA around the case opened by MK Party against AfriForum. And I think, Mr. Mahulejo, you went further and said you inquired from the Hawks, and they said it's still too early, still an early stage. So it might be that MKP opened a case and is being investigated by the Hawks, and the Hawks, therefore, they said it's still early when you inquired from them. However, I will still have the opportunity. There are matters that are at NPA, in particular, the Investigative Directorate Against Corruption, and there are other matters that NPA may be seized with. So to that extent, we will possibly take your details and just specifically respond on this, whether NPA is seized with this matter or not. But it does sound from how you posed the question that DPCI also comes into the picture. But we will clarify that to you. General, if you allow me, I also want to just respond and give my comment on the question, still by Mr. Maholejo, around in executing what I refer to as a directive. But I mean, you would have read this media statement issued by the President. In the main, is the implementation of the recommendation coming out of the Madlanga Commission. That's the main thrust. Okay. So as you are aware, that Madlanga Commission submitted an interim report to the President. So out of that report, the President is really indicating that these were the recommendations, and there is a task team that's required to look at it. That in no way will usurp the work of the SAPS, neither will it usurp the work of the NPA. So what we can assure you is that we will continue doing our work, even as we investigate the outcomes of Madlanga. We'll do it without fear, favor, or prejudice, as it is expected of all of us to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much once again to the National Commissioner, Advocate Mutibe and General Sentumule, for those responses. I believe they were able to cover every other question that was posed in the earlier round. General, through you, if you can just take the second round of questions. I see a new hand, and then there will be an indication if we have online Brigadier Mate, then you'll take us through any questions that are coming through the online platform. Let me just allow the hand that is right here in front. You'll introduce yourself and pose your question, then we go straight to the online platform. Thank you very much. Over to you, sis.
Thank you. I'm Anastasia Mkobu for the
Yes, ma'am.
Anastasia Mkobu for Jacaranda FM News. My question is for General Masemola. Considering the fact that the Madlanga Commission is still ongoing and we've seen a lot of senior officials in the law enforcement being implicated. Can you just take us through what went through the work to put together this task team? As the statement indicates that it's people that are skilled in various expertise. How did you ensure that we don't have the same people that are implicated in the commission ending up on the task team that is actually investigating those allegations? And for TV, you are taking an office after years where we've seen several high-profile cases not being prosecuted, some of them still stemming from the state capture allegations, and now we have a new commission which is going to require that work from your side. If you can just take us through perhaps some of your priorities when you take the office. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let us, through you, General, if you can go straight to the online and then respond afterwards, so that we at least we know that we have concluded the media briefing. Brigadier Mate, please take us through the online questions. Please, can you open your mic? Is it on?
Hello?
Thank you. Now you're audible.
In terms of our online questions, we have a few from Yusuf Abramji. The first question, when can we expect the first arrest from the Madlanga Commission investigations? Second question, why has it taken IPED 4 years to finalize the probe into the 2022 Black Fund murder case? Third question from the same, from Yusuf, how far is the disciplinary process relating to suspended DNC Lieutenant General Shadrach Sibia? Is there a delay, and if so, what's the reason? The last one from Yusuf, General Masamola, what's your response to what we are hearing at the Madlanga Commission, particularly where a senior official received money from a police supplier, medication and gifts? That's happened under your watch. And from Brayton Cupido from Network 24, our questions are as follows. Advocate Mutibi has mentioned that a dedicated team will work on investigations into police corruption. Is existing capacity being used, and will other investigations now suffer as a result of this move? We have seen multiple attempts at intimidation and attacks on witnesses at the Madlanga Commission and the ad hoc committee in Parliament. Is it still safe for witnesses to testify before these bodies? That's to Advocate Mutibi. And then to General Masamola, how are you determining at this stage internally which officers to trust given the allegations at the Commission and at the ad hoc committee? And then the last one from online, it's from Spiwe Masilana, who is a freelance reporter. General Masamola is an update regarding the mysterious death of the 3 police substance officers whose vehicle capsized into the Hanops River. Thank you, General.
Thank you very much, Brigadier Mate. On some of the questions, you were very soft, so some of them were not necessarily audible. We were able to get the one from, I think, Yusuf Abramji, but I think the network, the ones that are directed to the National Commission. If you can just run through those ones quickly, we then General will then call the National Commission to the podium. The last one. Are you able to just zoom in there before going to, I think, Masilela?
Okay.
Yes.
To General Masamola, how are you determining at this stage internally which officers to trust given the allegations at the Commission and ad hoc committee?
And then Masilela was just on the 3 constables from the Free State, General. I think that was the last one. Okay. Then the National Commissioner will then take the podium for responses, followed by Advocate Mtibi in that order. Thank you very much, General. Over to you.
Thanks, General Pukani. The task team, how we went through, we selected the members and we made sure that they are screened, and it's not going to be a once-off. Those members that are within the task team or whoever that we might bring on top to join the task team, they will be screened, those members. It's a process that we even discussed with the acting Minister of Police, Mr. Kachalia, that we need to thoroughly screen those that are going to be on this task team. We just didn't just pick and put into the task team. Well, the first arrest for now, one cannot say. Let's wait. Let the task team start their work. They are starting next week. Let them start. We'll take it from there and see what happens. The Brakpan murder, I spoke about that. We received a referral from the IPID, where we then initiated action. As I said, we received early this week or last week, we initiated action. But it is not SAPS that is investigating the Brakpan murder. So that question can better be answered by the IPID, because that case is with them. With regard to progress on General Sibiya's matter, the disciplinary process is in progress, and I cannot predict when it will be finalized, but it is in progress. What we hear at Madlanga Commission, where there are our members implicated, yes, some officers or senior officers are implicated, we do access such evidence and we do internal investigation. So that's how we are treating that. How to determine who to trust, who not? Well, it's a difficult question that. We have since we are subjecting all senior managers now for vetting, and with the external role players like your SSA, so that will assist us as we move forward. But that is the status. The last question with the 3 constables, we last week did give an interim report to the families, and there were some areas that we felt, the families felt they still need some answers, which the team is working on that. And I did indicate to the families that within a month I will go back and give them a progress report in terms of the areas that were raised and that we feel there still needs more investigation in that regard. So that is the progress with regard to the 3 constables. I think that's all, I think. The first arrest one I did answer. I said I wouldn't predict, I wouldn't know. Let the team piece together whatever evidence that is there and what has been under investigation by various other components, and we'll take it from there. Thanks very much. But also, just to indicate, on the question of General Sintumule, she did answer it on the question of ballistic, that yes, quite often we encounter a problem with the division or the component forensics. You would recall last year I gave the detective services 4,500 police members to recruit. The first initial recruitment of the 2024 was, we give them half of that, and the last part were those that have passed out or finished their training in 2025 December. So they are recruiting not only for general detectives, but they are recruiting for all the detectives, including your forensics. So up to so far, when I check how far they went, they have recruited 1,900 as of December, that is December, the past December of 2025. They still have got quite a bigger number, 2,000 plus, or 2,006 to go. And that involves recruitment for the wider detectives, including your forensics, all the sections, chemistry, ballistic, and all others. So I went further this January. I had a meeting with the acting Deputy National Commissioner here that their recruitment is a bit slowish, so they must, of course, put in speed. But of course, we need to take into consideration that the constables, as they come out of college, they've got 6 months that they must do practicals on the job training at a police station. So in as much as they've recruited, but they can't disrupt that training and take them over. They just need them to finish those training, even if they are qualified in forensics and in chemistry or science, but they must still finalize that specific on-the-job training in order for them to have that qualification. Then they can move over to the Division Forensic Services. But I have recently now, last week, given her a due date of up to the 28th of February 2026. When she talks, you'll hear she says 2027. It's not 2027. It's 28 February 2026. People are out there. So by 28 February 2026, she should have finalized recruitment, more specifically for the Forensic Science Laboratory. I can pardon her on other areas like your serious and violent crime, your general detective. But for the forensic, I said by 28 February 2026, we shall not have any shortage of personnel. We are busy in the process of acquiring the tools of trade and making sure that we have those tools. We are in the process, but we want that we shouldn't have this a repeated problem within the forensic services where it's either people or tools. So we will make sure that they have got those tools. We will, of course, because there are processes to acquire tools of trade. It will take us quite a longer time, maybe for this year, so that we so that we finalize the procurement of machinery and all other assets. But in terms of personnel, they will be there. And after the 28th of February 2026, they will go, of course, for training within the forensics. And from there, they'll deploy across all the labs, of course, including the KZN, will also be opened and running. Thank you very much.
Right, and that's where we'll leave that briefing, SAPS and PA Media briefing. Now, time for the news at just past 4, in fact, with Kolofelo Tefu.
Thanks, Ashraf. Top stories this hour. Task team to act on Madlanga Commission's interim report and Madlala's defense to file another bail application. Good afternoon. National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola has announced the establishment of a new task team that will investigate SAPS members implicated at Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. The establishment of the team follows a directive from the presidency prompted by the submission of an interim report from the commission. Masemola made the announcement in Pretoria, where he and the new National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Andy Mutibi, addressed the media on actions to be taken against those implicated at the commission. The team will be supported by the National Prosecutions Authority. Masemola elaborates.
It is important to note that some of these cases were already being investigated by the political killings task team, the organized crime and the serious and violent crimes units and teams. However, now that there is this team that we have established, it will then take over these referrals and start the investigation.
Staying with the commission, Brigadier Rachel Macheng says she was sad when attempted murder accused Vusmusi Ket Matlala lost his 360 million rand contract to provide medical and wellness services to the SAPS. The Care 24 contract was cancelled last year following allegations of tender irregularities and corruption. Macheng says the cancellation of the contract meant subs would struggle with medical surveillance. However, Commissioner Sesibaloi put it to her that she was sad for Madlanga because he was her romantic partner.
Brigadier, you would have been sad for your partner as well, that they're cancelling such a big contract because it means he's no longer making that money. You can admit that. There's no controversy about it. It's not controversial. He's your partner. And, you know, as you've told us, he's quite generous. We've seen here financially. But just from being your partner, I think that you can admit, surely. I think you agree with me. We'll take it as an agreement. Thank you.
Controversial businessman Vusmusi Madlanga's defense has told the High Court in Johannesburg that they intend on making another bail application based on new facts. Madlanga, together with his co-accused, appeared in court today, where their case was postponed to Thursday next week. Madlanga is facing 11 counts of attempted murder as well as a string of other charges. This relates to failed assassination attempts on his former partner Tebogo Tobejane, businessman Joe Spanione, and music producer Sienki Mukubong, commonly known as DJ Vetis. Madlanga's attorney Annelien van den Heever.
My Lord, after having consulted with the client, I've already approached my learned friend. We're going to ask that the matter stand down till Thursday. We've got certain instructions at this point in time. We need to have access to the client, and that obviously means that he's access to sign certain affidavits. That doesn't only relate to the issue of an urgent, but also to the issue of a bail application on new facts, which obviously can potentially alleviate a lot of the issues we're currently dealing with.
KwaZulu-Natal Premier Tamin Duli says they expect the first doses of a nationally procured foot and mouth vaccine batch of 1.5 million doses to reach the province by next week or the week after at the latest. A mass vaccination program will then begin in earnest with the aim of vaccinating 70% of the provincial herd within 6 months. The provincial government also requested the National Disaster Management Centre to declare foot and mouth disease a provincial disaster. Agriculture MEC Tembeni Kamadlophe Mthethwa.
Even on Tuesday, we'll be going throughout the province telling the communities what is it that they need not to do, what is it that they need to do, so that together we understand the difficulties we are faced with and also which solutions are we coming up with.
And finally, further afield, Iran and the US have begun renewed diplomatic engagements aimed at easing tensions between the two countries. Buhlali Pele reports.
The first meeting has concluded with a statement published by the Sultanate of Oman's Ministry of Foreign Affairs on its official platforms. According to the statement, Oman's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Saeed Badir bin Hamad Al Busaidi, held separate consultations with the Iranian and American delegations, focusing on creating conditions for renewed diplomacy and technical negotiations aimed at long-term regional security and stability.
The top story at 4, National Police Commissioner Fanima Semula has announced the establishment of a new task team that will investigate SAPS members implicated at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Headlines at 4:30 for SAFM News. I'm Kolofelo Defo.
In sports, the Sawa Tinkler labels Kukune goalkeeper dilemma a healthy headache, and Tsepo set to make Absa run your city 10-kilometer debut in Gqeberha. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 westbound in Alberton is slow moving towards the R59 Reading interchange, and Mabopane Highway southbound in Pretoria has a crash at the Hairpin Bend. In KZN, the N2 northbound has congestion reported in the direction of Watson Highway, and the M19 in New Germany has roadworks with traffic restrictions near Otto Follick Road. In Cape Town, Main Road northbound slow moving through Cork Bay, and Albert Road outbound slow moving through Woodstock. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Like a mother's love, Mama Money is always there for the things that matter most. This back-to-school season, when school fees need to be sent home, trust Mama Money to help you support your family with ease. With fees from just 2%, you can send money to over 70 countries across Africa, Asia, and Europe using the Mama Money app. Get started today. Download the app now, register, and make education happen. Mama Money. Mama makes it happen.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Sorry I'm late, Sevi. Had to fetch my lucky putter. No worries. Let's go. We're teeing off in an hour. Great. We're taking your car. Can't. It's already taken. What do you mean taken? It was right here when I left a few minutes ago. I sold it to Weber Cars and made a whole lot of green. Birdie told me that's the best way to sell your car. Not only the best way, it's the fair way. Kom ons vat die pad.
Don't be doof, be savvy. We buy cars geared for a fast sale, geared for you.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
I can tell you the fireside chat guest for between 5 and 6, Advocate Musi Sikakani. Make a note of that. Set your alarms now. 1 hour. Should be fascinating. Madlanga Commission adjourned until Monday, and the SAPS NPA media briefing just about going to end sometime soon. Let's cross right over to take in the tail end of it.
Structure with all other commissions that we had previously. This too is receiving the same security measures that has been implemented since the commencement of the commission. But we also had a follow-up meeting with the commission as well. This morning I did a courtesy visit to the center just to make sure that since the resumption of the commission, we are still on board with our safety and security measures. And we did engage at length on what else needed to be done on the safety of the witnesses, which the meeting resulted in us having to convene and to look at what needs to be done. I must indicate that we are not waiting for an incident to occur as NADRENS to respond, but as and when the need arises, we do convene, we do call one another. It's always a physical meeting because it talks to the security issues, and we put measures in place to ensure that witnesses are safe. So I think the question went further to say, is it still safe for witnesses to come forward and present their testimony before the commission? The answer is yes, that it's what we are encouraging, and that is what I think the country wants to hear. And people that have or who want to come and testify before the commission, when allowed, they will have to do that, and we can assure that we will put all the safety measures to the best of the ability of the joint structure. Thank you.
Janam Sigidi, thank you very much for that input, talking in her capacity as a co-chair of the Net Joints, which is a high-level coordination structure of government, and those responses, General, I think were necessary for clarity in most of the matters that needed that clarity in that particular space. But thank you, General Masimula, and Advocate Mutibe as well, for taking us through the responses of the second round of questions, and with General Sentumule as well, that also took the podium to respond on some of the specific questions that were directed to her portfolio. I did also indicate that on the far end, it was the acting national head of DPCI, Lieutenant General Nkosi. They were not necessarily specific questions that were directed to your portfolio, General. We are I thought we were moving towards a closure, but I see there is one hand further up. We can, General, can we take the hand, because for the online platforms we also indicated we are going to take those and probably forward some of the responses, because we can actually do that for our online questions, unless that one is pressing. General, can we afford an opportunity for the question? Okay, the question can come through. Is there a follow-up now? Are you okay?
The last online question is from Letoponolo Lehana at 4B. To the National Commissioner, why is Tommy Mtombeni not suspended as he was implicated in the Madlanga Commission? And to the NDPP boss, are you willing to share your thoughts on the application challenging your appointment? That's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Mine is just a question coming from a colleague who's elsewhere dealing with other stories, crime related. Is there any success recorded in the fight against illegal mining, particularly in Bapong, where we've seen a deployment of a large team of officers, as well as here in Randfontein and other areas in Gauteng, where communities have been affected in terms of their own safety? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, General. I think those are the two questions that we'll take at this stage, and then we will agree that we will wrap up our media briefing on that immediately after the responses, and the rest of the questions we'll take offline. Thank you, General.
Thanks for the question. I think earlier when I was presenting, I did indicate that whatever information we receive, we evaluate, and if there is a basis, then an investigation, of course, do take place. So there is a lot of assessment of information that we do receive. So based on what we have for now, there is nothing that one can be able to move on. But we are assessing information that we get from both the commissions in terms of what needs to be done. Thank you. And then on the Bapong and the Randfontein, we deployed forces there at Bapong, as you are aware, last year. There's been a number of people arrested for being illegal in the country and being in possession of gold-bearing material in both cases. We continue, of course, arrested those. But you'll recall that we have tasked the DPCI to investigate the serious cases, especially people that are buying the products of the Zamazamas, because that's the only way. If we hit that market, then obviously there will be a dent on the ground. For now, that investigation is still on. We haven't arrested anybody at the top of the market of the illegal mining, but we are continuing, and we are going to deploy the rest of the province of Gauteng. We are going to deploy because there is a lot of communities that are being affected by these people that are mining illegally in those areas. So we will continue with the deployment, especially in Gauteng and Northwest. But of course, not that the rest of the country will negate it, but we also pay attention there too. Thank you.
Right. The question is, am I willing to share the thoughts about the litigation or the reported litigation challenging my appointment? All I really can say at this stage is that I have followed the media reports in this regard, and should we be served with the legal papers or court papers, we will respond accordingly. So at this stage, that's really all I can say. Thank you. I'm focusing on the work at hand at the moment.
Thank you very much, Advocate Mutibi from the NPA. and also to the National Commissioner of the South African Police Service, General Masimula, the Deputy National Commissioners and other divisional commissioners that are also part and parcel of this particular briefing. Ladies and gentlemen, this takes us to the end of this media briefing, and thank you very much for your continued support as we continue with the business of making sure that the people of South Africa are and feel safe. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you, Mom.
All right, there we are. Lots to reflect on regarding that briefing by the SAPS and NPA. And you may want to add your own thoughts on that. Quite significant, making the point, this is the key takeout. The team, the special team that's been formed, will investigate those implicated in the Madlanga Commission. And according to the briefing, this comes directly from the request of the president, right? So that's interesting, but key part, they will investigate those implicated in the Madlanga Commission, which, as you know, is a conversation that many people have been asking about all day, all week long. When it's like, what about it? When some things are so obvious, are they just going to let them go? Well, maybe there's hope here. They won't let them go. Right. What about the EFF's position regarding two people who may just be, argument is maybe they're being let go. We'll talk about that next.
For 90 years, one voice has informed, challenged, and connected a nation. SAFM, South Africa's national English public radio station. Established in 1936 as the SABC's very first service, the A program evolving through the English service, Radio South Africa, to SAFM in 1995, shaping thought and strengthening democracy. From a full-spectrum station to a trusted home of news and talk, SAFM continues to lead the conversations 90 years strong. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, what we'll do now is let's talk about the position of the EFF with regards to specifically the ad hoc committee and two significant names, because the National Assembly Speaker, Toko Didiza, has denied protecting the Northwest businessman Brown Mogotsi and the forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan. Now, the reason she did that is in response to the EFF leader Julius Malema accusing the Speaker, and listen to these words, of political protection over her refusal to subpoena the two. Well, let's find out exactly what the EFF position is and what's next with Mazwi Bloze, the EFF MP. Appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and to the listeners at home.
Thank you. Let's get to the first part about your leader, talking about political protection over Toko Didiza's refusal to subpoena the two. Why would you think, why would the EFF, why would Julius Malema think it is political protection?
Well, there's been a deliberate attempt not to get Paul O'Sullivan to appear before the ad hoc committee. You would know that we written to her, or the committee actually had written to her as late as October last year, for her to put a signature on the subpoenas to get these two individuals to come before the ad hoc committee. The committee is set to close its work by the 20th of February, and she's only responding now just 2 weeks before we need to wrap up. So the lateness in the response and the vagueness in what now she deems as security threats on the lives of these individuals, without any credible proof, without any credible institution declaring these security threats, are then something that leaves us, very uncomfortable, which then we see them as political protection, because necessarily what Paul O'Sullivan was going to, reveal in the ad hoc committee was going to implicate a majority ANC cadres who are then, their names repeatedly come up in this committee. So her attempt, to get or to protect them not to come to the ad hoc committee, we view it as her protecting, her peers within the ANC and in Parliament.
All right, she may not have subpoenaed them for now, but she hasn't quite ruled them out being witnesses, has she?
Well, she doesn't necessarily need to say that they don't need to come, but you just frustrate the process and you delay what's supposed to happen up until the the committee runs out of time, and then you give that as an excuse to say, no, I responded in this way, therefore the ad hoc committee ran out of time and these individuals could not come up. That's what protection is, because she's not going to come up in public and say, no, as a speaker, I don't want these individuals to come. But obviously, some tactics and maneuvering are going to happen, which is exactly what is happening now, and hence, the utterances of the President and Commander-in-Chief to call these things out so that the public can be aware in terms of what is happening.
All right, and I'm going to quote the Speaker directly, and this is what she said, right? The subpoena, she's referring to, they call for the subpoena of the two names mentioned, Paul O'Sullivan and Bram Mogotsi, right? She said the subpoena would act as the last resort when the witnesses have refused. In this instance, the two witnesses did not refuse to appear at Parliament. They applied to the committee to be allowed to testify virtually, particularly Mr. O'Sullivan. So as the Speaker, I had to apply my mind, reflect whether or not the committee has exhausted all the options and provided assurance to the witnesses that their concerns have been addressed. It's only then that the Speaker can support the committee's move to the next step. I mean, isn't she right? They haven't actually said no. They would want to be on camera, but they haven't said no. They will not attend any briefing, the ad hoc committee in any form whatsoever.
Ashraf, the ad hoc committee is an extension committee of Parliament, which the Speaker is the leader of. So she asked to listen to us as, her ad hoc committee, which she established. Now, we are saying to her that there's a standing resolution of the ad hoc committee, which even the ANC members agree, that we have refused or rejected the call by Paul O'Sullivan to appear virtually because of certain reasons that would have been ventilated within the ad hoc committee. So that call that Paul O'Sullivan is putting forward to the Speaker, the ad hoc committee has already addressed all those issues, and those things are before the Speaker. We've already told her that we have rejected the call by Paul O'Sullivan to come before the committee virtually. We want him physically in Parliament so that we are able to tell him in his face that he is not a superior citizen of this country, he's not above the constitution of this country, and he must clear his name in everything that should have came out of this. So the Speaker to then come back to us and say that these are the things that Paul O'Sullivan, we've already ventilated those things. We've already told the Speaker about that. We've told her we've rejected that. So she can't bring the same reasons to us and say that we have not articulated on those issues.
She made the point that the subpoena is an option when all other avenues are exhausted. Do you think, in your opinion, in Julius Malema's opinion and the EFF, that in fact all other avenues have already been exhausted?
We've exhausted everything. That's why we wrote to her and asked her to subpoena the individuals, because Paul O'Sullivan is trying every tactic in the book to avoid accountability or to appear in Parliament. He has tried to say he wants to go to an embassy, he'll appear virtually, he needs a security guard, he wants a private chef. He has tried everything not to appear. Hence, we went to the Speaker. Now, for the Speaker to give us the very same reasons, and the ad hoc committee has deliberated on these issues and took a resolution. So the Speaker is our leadership. We are going to her as our leader, and we're saying, just put your signature on this thing. We've articulated, we've agreed as a committee, the chairs agreed on these issues. We want these people to be subpoenaed into the committee. Don't bring us the same reason that they've been bringing, including those of the security threat, because we are saying that there must be a credible institution that is going to investigate and give us a report that these threats are real. So that's where we do not fall in the trap of Bram Mogotsi, who went and fabricated security threats and shot his own car, and then we must take that as credible evidence because people want to evade accountability. So all of these things that the Speaker is saying, that's why we're saying it's delaying tactics. It's just her protecting these individuals, because as the ad hoc committee, there's a standing resolution. We've tried everything in our powers, and her lateness to respond to these issues, because as she came back to us even as late as last year, we would have told her all of these things, and we will be in a better position now to get these individuals to come to Parliament. Right. So for her to come back now 2 weeks before we close is also questionable.
Okay, I know we're talking about ad hoc, but one can apply by extension to the Madlanga Commission. Are there not valid concerns from some witnesses that appearing before the Commission compromises themselves in terms of their safety? We've seen examples of that. I'm not pointing it out to Paul O'Sullivan specifically, but just the general principle. And we heard yesterday there was an attempted, killing of a person implicated. Are those not valid concerns?
But look, Ashraf, we've always said as the EFF that Madlanga Commission is just a waste of time. And the unfortunate part is that the Madlanga Commission is running parallel with the Ad hoc Committee. But the Ad hoc Committee is not a subcommittee of the Madlanga Commission. Whatever happens, it does not implicate us. The Ad hoc Committee is a committee of Parliament. It is based in Parliament. Parliament is highly protected. It's got its own security, protected by the police. When people land in the Cape Town International Airport, those protection and security can be provided for. So we are not a committee that is established in a hall somewhere and then people are exposed to all sorts of dangers and all of that. Because we've always questioned the existence of this Madlanga Commission. So Parliament is governed differently. It is a legal, legislative, framework that is governed by the Constitution of this country. And it is the right body that should be, investigating these matters. And we wouldn't be having all of these things that are happening in the Madlanga Commission. So hence now, that's why then, Paul O'Sullivan can draw to the Madlanga Commission and wants to draw, those parallels to the Ad hoc Committee, which actually does not exist. Since the Ad hoc Committee started, we have had no incidents of any witnesses in the Ad hoc Committee who has been, threatened or tried to be shot or anything of that sort. But everything else is happening in the Madlanga Commission. So we don't want to draw things from that commission to want them to legitimize a legitimate process that is happening in Parliament.
Just very, very quickly on to news time. Malema, amongst the many things he said, talking about the refusal to do the subpoena, saying that the Speaker, they might expose, and I'm quoting, politicians involved in wrongdoing. Do you think that is the case? That means that is why the reluctance, because politicians need to, watch their own backs?
Yeah, I remember some of the witnesses that came in the Ad hoc Committee told us that Paul O'Sullivan actually handpicks, this was even General Nkatamkonas, that Paul O'Sullivan handpicks commissioners of this country. So Paul O'Sullivan can even implicate the president if he was to come up, and hence the reluctance. That's why we are calling this thing out, because Paul O'Sullivan has got a lot of information and is going to implicate a lot of people, high-profile ANC politicians, and this is why that the Speaker is acting this way.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Mazwer Bloze, the EFF MP, thank you for your time. Some may say, now I wonder what you think. Would you say, yet first prize is in person, but in a case like Paul O'Sullivan's, where he's away, hey, get him any way you can, but just get him on record. Think about it. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Kolofello.
Thanks, Ashraf. Good afternoon. In the 4:30 headlines, National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola has announced the establishment of a new task team that will investigate SAPS members implicated at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. The establishment of the team follows a directive from the presidency prompted by the submission of an interim report from the Commission. The case against 3 suspects linked to Tuesday's mass shooting in Meyerton, south of Johannesburg, has been postponed to the 20th of this month for a bail application. And the Umkhonto Wesizwe Party has announced the establishment of a presidential task team as the country prepares for the local government elections. That is it from me today. Good afternoon.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 northbound in Pretoria is a crash near Garsfontein Road, and the M1 northbound in Sandton, slow moving towards Marlborough Drive. In KZN, the N2 northbound, a crash before Mgeni Road, and on the M19 westbound in Westville, slow moving traffic towards Roger Shishi Road. In Cape Town, for Utica Road eastbound, slow moving through Maitland, and Kuburg Road northbound in Tableview, slow moving at Blauberg Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, you have a Tinkler story.
Yes, Kukune United coach Eric Tinkler has explained how he is managing the luxury of having 3 capable goalkeepers and the challenge of trying to keep them all motivated. Babinanoku currently have Tosta Nsabata, Manuel Supunya and Ronaldo Lena of all competing for the number 1 jersey. Now, Tinkler admits that while Lena is first choice for now, there are no guarantees as the battle for the starting berth continues on the pitch.
When I joined the club, Ronaldo started to get more game time. Sangare was obviously the first choice at the time. We knew that this season there would be a complete reshuffle in terms of the goalkeeping department. He had a great back end of last season when I brought him in. Very, very good game against the Mamelodi Sundowns in the Cup, the Nedbank, that he did really, really well. And he even got a call-up to the national team, and then we signed 2 keepers, both of them internationals, Sapunga and Toaster. And in the beginning of the year, in pre-season, a lot of competition between the 3 and a lot of questions from the 3. Who's the number 1? And it was difficult for me to give them an answer in terms of who the number 1 is.
Then when travels to South Africa in a week's time to play Mamelodi Sundowns, head coach Rulani Mokoena says that he will not be taking his players on a safari but to Pretoria to collect 3 points. The match will be the final CAF Champions League group stage encounter, and to remain competitive until then, the Algerians must beat Sudanese side Al Hilal tonight. MC Alger are tied on 4 points with FC Lupopo and just a point behind Sundowns, and Mokoena says that a win is a must tonight. Elsewhere, Arsenal can move much closer to winning the Premier League if they beat Sunderland tomorrow. They're already 6 points clear at the top of the table, and this could increase their lead before Manchester City play a difficult away match against Liverpool. Now, Arsenal are chasing their first league title since the 2003 and 4 season. Aston Villa are currently third, but their recent drop in form has allowed Manchester United, Chelsea and Liverpool to close the gap in the battle for the Champions League qualification next season. In terms of basketball, after a successful 5th season, the Basketball Africa League returns next month, and the 6th season will tip off at the Sunbet Arena in Pretoria on the 27th of the next month. Bell Africa President Amadou Gallo says that it was a no-brainer that they would return to South Africa this year following successful tournaments held in the country over the past few years.
Returning to South Africa and Morocco and Rwanda also speaks to the growing sporting cultures in these countries. We want to deepen our presence and engagement. For the 3rd year in a row, we'll be playing in South Africa, where we've enjoyed tremendous fan interest and also, a beautiful arena, world-class infrastructure in Sunbet. Obviously, our finals have been held almost every season since the beginning. In 2021 in Rwanda, we went last year to South Africa for the first time that the finals were played outside. But we're looking forward to returning to Kigali for finals this year. And as you know, next year in season 7 would be another opportunity for us to explore playing in another market. So these are the 3 countries where we'll play this year.
In athletics, former South African Coach of the Year Samuel Sebeng has confirmed that newly crowned national 3,000 indoor record holder Tsepo Chite will make his 10-kilometer debut at the Absa Run Your City Gqeberha 10-kilometer that is on the 1st of March. Sebeng says that the time is right for Chite to transition to the road and believes that the popular Run Your City series in the Friendly City provides the perfect platform.
And looking at possibilities of start moving up, because Tsepo is getting older, it doesn't get younger, and obvious, that's why we say, let's, for us to move up, let's start with the indoor 3,000, not the 1,500, and for us to return that Tsepo range, it's something that obvious when we start the base, we were looking at that. For us saying we aligning with what's happening around the world, obviously we need to run sub 740, and it's something that we told ourselves that our first race we go for it, and to see that happen for us is achievement, and we know there's more to come. Just at the same time we want people to enjoy sports, not put much pressure, and now we are into that, as I mentioned, that it's part of us, to move up. Tsepo, to be honest with you, he's gonna run 10K Gqeberha. So whatever we do for the indoor now is also our preparation to 10K. That's it there, after 10K.
Ashraf, before I leave, I'm sure you heard that story with Mamelodi Sundowns coach alluding to the fact that there's some clubs that visit referees on match day.
I was startled.
And
That had to go to the Madlanga Commission or something like
I
that.
mean, any suggestions that referees might be influenced is absolutely extremely serious, because obviously then they're questioning the credibility of the PSL. And if it's true, surely it should be investigated.
Where did he see this? I mean,
He says he has a photo.
But now, and he hasn't mentioned names.
No. So allegations are out there. Surely something must be done with regards to it, because it's serious. And it's
bound to
putting
be
the
the biggest story
integrity
of the
game.
weekend in terms of football.
Yeah.
That would be the case.
Yeah.
Mm.
Big one. Big one. I'll have more on other sports in the next hour.
Hi, I'm Zycard. Catch me every Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. on Spotlight as we bring you blow-by-blow sporting action, news. That's Spotlight every Saturday. You don't want to miss it.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Well, we get to the weekend, but the numbers still do count. Paswane and Patlele with me from Markway Fund Managers. You've got news about Goldfields, right?
Yeah, afternoon, Ashraf and Joy and listeners. Well, Goldfields gave us a trade update for the year performance, and they're reflecting that they expect their profits to accelerate over 110% compared to the previous periods, delivering scaling profits thanks to the higher gold price. Production is also up, providing support 18%, reflecting clean operations taking place. They are meeting their guidance. And yes, cost did pick up marginally at 1%, but reflects that the guys are risk managing their costs very well. So overall quality update, and the stock was up as high as 5%. Market developments, we see that the key US labor report was delayed due to the government shutdown disruptions, but markets is growing expectation that coming next week, as they reported, they should see a dovish report, which is being priced in now as we see yields are coming down. A lower dollar is failing to break out higher. And yes, the market is expecting an interest rate cut by June, when the new Fed head would be coming through. And this is supporting the likes of our precious metals as volatility is coming down. We see gold is up 3% at $4,930 an ounce. Platinum up 2.9% at $2,050 an ounce. Yes, oil continues to hold bullish on global demand, growing at $66.80 a barrel. Bitcoin remains challenged and bearish at 67,000. 93,000 is a trade level to see increased money flow. When we bring it into equities, Ashraf, we're seeing that the US remains under pressure with AI pressures, signaling bearish momentum, but the buy is taking place today. We see Nasdaq is up 0.8, S&P 0.9, the Dow is up 1.3, and Russell 2000 is continues to do well, up over 1%. When we look in Europe, the DAX is up 0.5, FTSE up 0.2, JSE up a firm 1%, supported by broad-based gains. Resource up 1.2, industrials up 1.5, financials up 0.4. And when we bring it to the currency, rand is strengthened to 1608, thanks to the weaker dollar. Rand against the euro 1898, and against the pound 2184.
Right, perfect. Thank you for that. Have a great weekend, Paswane. We will certainly connect with your team on Monday.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Right. So what do you want to talk about? There's the obvious Madlanga Commission today. Those who testified, what they said, those that did not testify, those that got postponements. Then the ad hoc committee, as you heard from the EFF spokesperson or MP, those that needs to be subpoenaed or else. Two names come to mind. Any thoughts on that? There's a fascinating. Have you been seeing, by the way, the Chat GPT caricature prompt, where if you prompt Chat GPT to create a caricature of you, and you give a picture and say a few things about you, they'll create it. It is like all the rage. I may have to set time with the whole weekend going through all of it. Like, I've just seen about at least 30 people I know on social platforms and WhatsApp already doing that, and that's just early days. I think it's going to go into the thousands. I'm sure about that. Anyway, let's get to your WhatsApp comments as well, which I will do. And there's an interesting thing I picked up about, and listen to this one, talking about all the countries in the world and who is the most prominent writer from that country. So, for example, England, of the United Kingdom was William Shakespeare. One may debate about Charles Dickens, but William Shakespeare would be the most prominent one. The South African one is an interesting one. You may just give your thoughts to that. But they've done through like 20, 30 countries, okay? And I wonder what you think. I've suggested that, in fact, from a South African perspective, in fact, from a worldwide one, you need to do two. You need to do a historical figure who's the most well-known writer, author of that country, and then a contemporary person as well. So if we did that in South Africa, who would be your historical number one, and who would be your contemporary number one? Someone right now. Okay, let me tell you, Nadine Godimer has got the nod for that name in terms of what they said, right? So would you break it down into two, historical and contemporary? In the meantime, I need to get to talking to you, but I will remind you as well, we'll be chatting to Advocate Musi Sekakane coming up after 5 on the Friday fireside chat. I'm sure you've got questions to ask him. What's the one thing I need to be asking him? Here's the response about the EFF's conversation.
I think on the issue of the two individuals, the Brian Mokhotsi and Paul O'Sullivan, I think the EFF is just politicking as always. We should not take them serious. They politic at every issue that might come from the corner of the parliament or ANC related issues. So why can't they allow Mokhotsi and Paul to appear virtually? So because, I mean, if they refuse to appear virtual, then that we can take it from there. So the speaker cannot be reckless in this case and just allow people to come physical when people are being shot at daylight. So I don't know. I mean, these AF guys are just being reckless, and we know they're a bunch of people who just politicking. There's just nothing that good can come out of them. So let this individual appear, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, politicking is what you say. What does the others say? What about the task team that's been formed? In fact, you got a view on this, Butana. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon, my brother Ashraf.
Yeah, putting Rosebank on the map. Go for it.
Yes, thank you very much. You know, Masamula and the team, they must work very hard. The good area to start, they must actually investigate properly Mr. Mkunu and General Sidia. And that task team, my brother, it must be well resourced. It must be staffed with proper prosecutors, not comrade prosecutors.
So based on what you've heard so far from them today, to say they're going to tackle those implicated already in the Madlanga Commission, do you not think that that's a good start?
Well, it's not a good start. The good start we'll see when they now getting somebody to investigate that and then start prosecuting. And there are two people that they need to start with. If they want to want ground running, they must start there. Mkunu and Sidia. That's why they need. They must not even misdirect them by the ANC politicians. They misdirect them. They must focus on people that have destroyed the police. They must focus on people that destroy the country.
Butana, getting it off your chest clearly on a Friday afternoon. Thank you for that, right? Let's get to further comments from you, the listener, you that reflects the community that makes up the National Pulse.
I just find it very funny that the SEPS is now going to investigate itself. Again, I'm just wondering, since the commissions are continuing, if any one of the people who are tasked or who are selected to this task team that is going to investigate, what if any one of them gets implicated now again? Because right now we don't know who's clean. I can come out and say I don't think the whole of SAPS is clean right now as things stand. So, but hey, it is what it is.
Okay, it is what it is, investigating itself. You may be right. What other options do they have outside of the more formal investigations regarding, for example, the Madlanga Commission? And here's a point about those two names mentioned.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Brown Mokhotsi, Paul O'Sullivan. Trade-off between GA and the African National Congress. If Brian Mokhotsi take the stand again, he will sing like a canary, and no one will be saved from the African National Congress. Paul O'Sullivan is a good hitman for the DA. So the two big parties are now trading off. That's my suspicion.
Trade-off. That's your suspicion. Really? Well, I'll tell you what, there's so much more about that.
Afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, this Madlanga Commission, when they know that this certain person is involved with this fraud and corrupt unit, they should immediately send this person to jail. They are taking too long on technicalities, and this is a waste of time. We need to get over with this and done as quick as possible. I think sometimes questions are duplicated. They have to come to a quick understanding in this commission. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. But you can't, I mean, you also can't have shortcuts, can you? Can you really have shortcuts? I don't think so.
Good afternoon, Ashraf and the team. I just find it so deflating that we are now at a point where an actual top cop is literally a side chick to one of the most notorious criminals in the country, or alleged criminals, so to speak. That is just mind-boggling for me, and I've been hearing a lot of mind-boggling things throughout this commission and the ad hoc committee, but a side chick of an actual criminal, a top cop, that is just preposterous. Again from Rayfontein.
What would you name that movie if you call it a movie after, if you did a movie like, Bonnie and Clyde type of thing? That may not be true, but what would you name a movie if that were the case? I wonder.
The favorite saying, we will do without fear, favor, or prejudice. Yeah, we know that saying. The NPA is now tasked with cases that came from the SIU. SIU has been complaining that they do their work, they send it to NPA for prosecutions, but it doesn't happen. Now that the SIU is at the helm of the NPA, will Maumela them be convicted? Just a question.
Just a question. All sounds very serious. More to come after this.
Get Barter school shoes at Spar for 75 Rand when you spend 350 Rand or more and swipe your rewards card. Buy 1 litre Spar Long Life Milk, 6-pack, full cream or low fat for 89.99 plus 200 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or 750 gram Nescafe Real Coffee tin or 800 gram pouch for 129.99 plus 300 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Price is valid from 20 Jan till 8 Feb while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
The Railmen believe a win is more special when defeating giants. Yet Masandawana are confident they are wearing the right boots to triumph on foreign soil. This is the CAF Champions League. Catch FC St. Eloy Lupopo up against Mamelodi Sundowns the Sunday 8 February at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC Free. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Right, we're going to get to more calls from you and WhatsApp comments, so keep them coming because we'll stop that at 5 o'clock. Because as you know, today being a Friday, we have the Fireside Chat, and the Fireside Chat guest today will join me as Advocate Musi Sekakani. So that will be all about chatting to him and his book as well, by the way. In the meantime, hold on to this. South Africa's leading fuel company, Engen, part of the Vivo Energy Group, will be at the Investing in Africa Mining Indaba, showcasing how partnerships and technology are reshaping modern mining. From secure fuel and lubricant supply to AI-enabled equipment monitoring and predictive maintenance, Engen and Vivo Engineering Energy, that is our Vivo Energy, are helping mining operations improve uptime, manage costs, and build long-term resilience. So visit the Anjan and Vivo Energy stand at Q38 at the Mining Indaba 2026, where smarter mining meets stronger partnerships. Because mines are always moving. We're always moving.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, let's more on the president's recommendations. Austin from Guyana, what's your point?
Hey, Mr. Ashraf. How are you?
Just Ashraf. Cut the Mr. out, man.
All right, sir. My take on this, I'm just baffled by the recommendations that minister or the former minister or the suspended minister Nkun is not part of that list, because we've been following the commissions, and then to my surprise, I think he's been implicated as well. We're not talking about the arrest. Why is he not being investigated? So to me, I think the list that we're being given, it's something that it raises questions, and also the recommendations are from the president, and from the evidence of Mr. Nkun, if we're following, he did say that even the president knew about this immediately disbandment of the PKTT. So now, if it's not part of that list of the people who are to be investigated or prosecuted, then it raises questions. Is it about protecting each other or what?
Well, look, interesting. I mean, the president has said, as far as Nkunu is concerned, he will pronounce and make his recommendations after the completion of the full investigations. And I can't remember the exact phrase he used, but he said something like, this is what I need to do. And I'm paraphrasing, suggesting something like, if this, doesn't sound good, well, so be it. I just have to do this. So I don't know. You could think maybe he's ridiculous. Maybe he's got a point. Thank you for that call, right? And there's more calls. Tokozani from Durban. Let's get your thoughts, Tokozani.
Hi, Ashraf.
Yeah, how's it, man?
Ashraf,
Yeah.
I'm feeling as if now the president and the institutions are cracking the whip now.
You mean things are happening?
Yes, indeed. I'm not pessimistic as I was. And I wish you can ask Advocate Moses Kakane, where we were together in one of the institutions in Johannesburg. I won't mention the institution. But ask him that I'm a little bit puzzled that he is beating now. He was that straightforward person. But now, anyway, maybe we grow up to be something else.
So okay, interesting one. It was straightforward. That means it's not anymore. Tokozani from Durban. There's more comments about O'Sullivan, which I think is very relevant.
Hello, Ashford. I'm not defending the speaker, but EFF, the guy that is talking there, is talking as if he will protect people. And you could understand that people are dying here. Sullivan's got a right that he needs some protection. I mean, after the incident that happened in Ekurhuleni and Vredendal, we must be very, very careful around this. And also, that guy is speaking like Malema. They are speaking as if they know, and they've never even been in the struggle. The only thing that they know is just to sing songs, because even Malema, I don't think that he was involved in the struggle. He was just collecting papers during the old apartheid days. And also, his political party is not a political party. It's his own money-making machine as such.
Lots of allegations there. Money making, collecting papers, so many things, never part of the struggle. I'm sure many people are going to come back and rebut all of those things. I'll leave it to them to do just that. Listen, they have a point of view. They can make that point. But whether your point may also be valid to say, well, if O'Sullivan and if they feel that his life is at stake, but we want to hear his testimony, would we be compromised if he does it in camera, online? Would we be compromised in hearing what he has to say or not?
Afternoon, Ashraf. The country is battling with a high level of crime. People are being killed every day. Women are being raped every day. And police prioritize BBL over crime. BBL for South African. It is a shame and indictment to the government led by Cyril Ramaphosa. Aubrey.
Okay, that's one. And there's a whole lot more on the Julius factor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ashraf. I'm not sure if you have listened to that General Mkwana's guy. He says now he can't even go out because people now are accusing him of murder. Since the guy died, the one who was, I think, witness D, I'm not sure. So now I don't know if it connects the dot. You see now, it was him maybe was gonna be the suspect, General Mkwana's, and this guy, the one who got shot recently, Pretorius. So if that one also too, they want to eliminate him, chances are there's Mkwana's guy from the Metropolis is the one who is doing these shenanigans. Because now he does not want anyone to be a witness or to give evidence against him.
Okay, maybe the last one I can play is this.
How are you, Ashraf? You see, some of the people, if they have nothing to say, they must just keep quiet. You can't just take a person and send him to prison without proving him guilty. The courts are the ones which can send a person to prison. You can end up paying a person that you think is guilty. You can end up paying him a lot of money. You can't just jump what is supposed to be done and you say send a person to prison. What type of courts are those ones? So people must know what they must say whenever they phone Stephen Deppen.
Well, listen, you are right about the one thing, however it may sound, you can't just take a person from the Madlanga Commission straight into prison because that's what you feel like it. It has to be tested in court and proved and then convicted for a person then to end up in prison. Am I saying it correctly? Yeah. Okay, so we have the Musi Sikakana coming up, advocate that is, as our fireside chat guest after 5. Let's get the news now. It's just gone 5 o'clock.
Thank you, Ashraf. Madlanga accused will face justice in talks between the US and Iran. Good day to you. The newly appointed NPA head Andy Motibis assured South Africans that the authority will ensure that those implicated in the Madlanga Commission are prosecuted. He was speaking at a police media briefing in Pretoria today. At that briefing, the National Police Commissioner announced that investigations into police members implicated at the Commission are at an advanced stage, with some members already suspended, while others have been informed of the intention to suspend them. Motibi says the NPA will collaborate with law enforcement agencies to ensure effective decisions.
The law enforcement agencies demonstrate their commitment to transparency, accountability, and helping to rebuild trust in our institutions and the entire criminal justice system, and of course enhancing the rule of law. So, National Commissioner, I would like to assure you, as you lead this team, that we will bring in our support to ensure effective investigations that will lead to prosecutorial decision.
The case against 3 suspects linked to Tuesday's mass shooting in Meyerton, south of Johannesburg, has been postponed to the 20th of this month for a bail application. The accused appeared in court today in connection with a deadly attack on a minibus taxi that left 6 people dead. The Jovelta Taxi Association says it's still unclear if the incident was taxi-related or a targeted ambush. The association's Setsa Mofokeng.
We are still shocked as an association with regards to what happened, and also we want to pass our sincere condolences to the family of the deceased. We are still trying to figure out what happened. Is it taxi related or is it just an ambush? That's why we are here as an association to assist the police with the investigations.
The MK party has announced the establishment of a task team as the country prepares for local government elections this year. The team will work closely with the office of party leader Jacob Zuma.
I thought it was important that we go together with that, what is happening, of the growing of this wonderful organization that is going to liberate our country. Particularly to me, in particular, because I'm up and down working this way and that way. And it was necessary that we look at how much I can do that for a long time, just going this way, that way. So we thought it was important that we have people who must help me add to what I'm doing and what we are all doing.
The family of poet and author Diana Ferris has formally requested government to grant her a special official funeral Category 1. In a submission to the Office of the President, the family says her contribution to South Africa's cultural and historical heritage exceeds the criteria for a Category 2 funeral and warrants the highest national recognition. Ferris, who passed away last week at the age of 72, is widely known for a poem which played a key role in the repatriation of the remains of Sarah Baartman from France to South Africa. Renewed talks have started in Oman between the US and Iran as Washington seeks to curb Iran's nuclear and missile program. The talks are believed not to include face-to-face meetings conducted through Omani diplomats. The BBC's Nafisa Konovat has more.
Both teams have moved to the Omani foreign minister's house. They had meeting with him, and still Iran insists that these sessions of talks also is indirect. Although channels close to Lebanese Hezbollah and also to Tehran itself have claimed that Iranian officials are open to possible direct talk if the atmosphere of these talks goes well.
The top story this hour, the newly appointed NPA head has assured South Africans that they will ensure that those implicated at the Madlanga Commission are prosecuted. That's SAFM News, I'm Greg Hoos.
In sports, the Sour Stokes suffers facial injury. Tepo set to make Absa run your city 10-kilometer debut in Gqeberha, and Bell set for 27 March. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound slow moving towards Boysons, the N3 northbound in Bedfordview, slow moving on the link to the N12 east at Gililees interchange, and Mabopane Highway eastbound in Pretoria has a crash reported near Eskampa-Hleli Drive. In KZN, the N3 northbound in Howick, queuing towards Nottingham Road, the M4 northbound has a crash after Bayhead Road Bridge, and on the N3 westbound, a stationary truck near Van Renen Town. In Cape Town, the N7 northbound slow moving towards Plattekloof Road, Campground Road is slow moving through Newlands, and the R304 northbound in Stellenbosch queuing towards Butler Road Junction. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
I tell you what, we're taking photos of a book, we're taking photos of the guests, we do all of this before the fireside chat actually gets underway here. Musi Sekakane with me, SC, and that SC is in a senior counsel, someone who takes still could know all about it. In fact, I asked you off air to say, most of you advocates are far too busy, and you said something interesting. You want to repeat what you just said?
We wouldn't be this busy if people behaved themselves.
There we are.
And didn't quarrel them so much. Yeah.
Now listen, I mean, we're going to talk about many things.
Sure.
Goodness, we could have like 3 hours, like a Madlanga commission. Just talking, but we don't. But firstly, let's get to one of the key factors we had. I have a book in my hand. It's called Odyssey of Liberation, a memoir of a rebel advocate, and then of course it's got your name there, Musi Sekakane, forward by Reverend Dr. Alan Boesak, right? Let's get to the title. I mean, you have a publisher and they obviously guide you in names, but you have to sign it off, right? What went into agreeing on that name, Odyssey of Liberation, a memoir of a rebel, in inverted commas, of a rebel advocate?
Well, the name Odyssey is a Greek word for voyage, for a journey. And I thought, let me talk about the world and the country and everything through my journey, So I thought, let me just talk about what I've seen, what I've been through. It's not a story about me that much when you read the book. It's a story about my country and how I've traveled in it.
In fact, I was reading a few reviews and one of them said, like, it's almost part memoir, part not, part textbook.
Yes.
And in some ways, some people say we're confused about that. But I mean, I get that. You obviously thought about that too, right?
I did. I was writing this book about many subjects. I'm not the hero in the movie in this book. It's something I was writing in order to incorporate various subjects that are usually written in convoluted language, black consciousness, coloniality, the struggle, and all of those. So it's true that it's a mix of many things, and I was writing it because I wanted a mix of readers for it. I wanted a security guard to read it, and I wanted a professor to read it without getting disappointed.
To read it all. Okay, but you mentioned the Odyssey. Let's stick with the rebel part. Why would you agree on being called a rebel advocate?
It's because that term has been used against me first as an insult. But little did they know that I actually, since childhood, am a rebel because I try to question the world around me. So some people have used it because they think I'm controversial. I have controversial views they don't like. In South Africa, we don't like people who hold views we don't like. We don't like people who represent clients we don't like until we are in trouble. So I thought, well, it's used like this, but I am. And if you read it, you will see that since the age of 9 or so in the Catholic Church, I have always tried to question things around me.
So you were a rebel then?
I've been like that for a long time, yeah.
What's the one thing, I'm going back now as a young boy, what's the one thing that you questioned even then, where your family and community said, like, how dare you?
Yeah, I just never understood why black people in their own country are the ones who live in poverty, and the farmers where I grew up, one family, a white family, was richer than all of us. And I've never understood it. As a Catholic, I never understood why when we're queuing for Holy Sacrament, streams of us wearing jackets looking nice and the white family wearing vests and boots would be given the first sacrament before us. I just didn't understand it. And I've questioned that, and I tried to join that queue, and of course our mothers would pull us back. I just didn't understand.
You were in the wrong queue.
I just didn't understand what it just looked odd that human beings lived like that, and our mothers and our fathers worked for this other young women, and a teenager was shouting at my father and my mother. It just looked odd.
When did you understand it?
Maybe when I was a teenager, I understood what it was. Not that I accepted it even now, because it continues in different forms, exploitation, racism, slavery, and all of these things don't change. They actually transcend in time and place. And there are still dictators today, killers today. They do it differently. And so I know it now, its source. I still don't accept it. Still don't understand why people deal with each other this way because of something I call biological irrelevance. That others are white, others are black. It still confuses me. And there's so much. The more educated people are, the actually more problematic they get. The more racist they are, the more tribalist they are. Yeah.
You think?
I think
they get enlightened.
Yeah, but I'm reading a book now called Decolonization of Language. It explains why that actually colonialism worked in a funny way. It secured its base by educating elites so that they could reproduce what used to happen. So educated people tend to actually be more barbaric yet sophisticated.
So a sophisticated form of barbarism.
It's very sophisticated, but it's the same. It transcends time and place.
But I mean, is that then the reality of the world where there's this, largely the middle class developed from educated people, I would think, right? Yeah. And you talk about growing a large middle class, right? As a safeguard against other factors in society. But once that middle class then leads, there's a danger that they will continue in a way that suits whatever they see as an agenda, and entrenching that.
Absolutely. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Ashraf. It's how society reproduces itself. You know, that even elites reproduce themselves, protect their interests. So you can grow your middle class, keep growing that middle class creates an egalitarian society. It doesn't, because the more educated people are and comfortable, the more apathetic they become about. How many people do you meet, Ashraf, now who live comfortably like you and me and all of us in the room, who say, I don't want to get involved?
Listen, what's very topical is the issue of Joburg water or Joburg no water.
Absolutely.
Right? And I mean, there was an argument the other day to say that, in fact, the bulk of the middle class, Joburg's northern suburbs, right, the protests are far less there than in other suburbs. And when they protest, there's less anger than in other suburbs or townships for the reasons that are exactly what you just said. Yeah.
I think that's what happens, is that you would think, I'm an advocate and I live with advocates, and I've observed that the educated we are, the more conforming we become and comfortable with what I think is inequality in society, because the situation draws us from the peripheries and to some sort of middle. We on the outskirts of middle, and we're comfortable, and we can afford not to care.
So you become part of the status quo.
You become part of it even as you protest that you are not. You become part of it because you are sufficiently comfortable not to care what happens.
Okay.
But if you didn't have a roof on you didn't live in a double-storied house, you didn't have a nice car, a nice job and food, your apathy would be tempered.
Absolutely. Now, listen, in terms of the book, there's so much to cover. There's no way we can do it all, and I really want people to read the book. So we'll ask you to maybe just highlight a few things. But before I do that, yesterday, we had a conversation on air with listeners, and what came through, picking up, what was going on at the Madlanga Commission and the ad hoc committee and other things, was this question. I think, in fact, a listener called in and said, how did we get here? Right? From wherever we were, how did we get to here? And let me then put that to you. How did we get to here?
To what I call the state of decay, rot, degradation. It's exactly what you started with. We got here because we get comfortable. We get comfortable and we sacrifice principle when we are comfortable. And sometimes our relationship with truth suffers as we get comfortable. And then so we got here because we did not really watch every step that was being taken. In fact, in South Africa, I think we didn't watch the nature of our political settlement. That in my view,
you speak about that in the book.
I do.
Talk about that. So 1991, I think it was that whole Codesa talks, or around the period.
It's complex. I'm not one of those who say we've not achieved anything. No. But I think there was, I start this discussion always with the fact that, if a pig put on lipstick, it would still be a pig with lipstick. And what societies tend to do, capitalism in particular as a system, is that it keeps transforming itself. So I think the settlement, yes, was good because we're all battle fatigued, but it gives you a vote and what I call periodic electoralism, but it takes away what was taken from you, your dignity, your land, and all of those. And it gives you rights that you would have anyway. And people celebrate that as they sink deeper in poverty, in hopelessness. And that's why in 31 years or 30 years, you say, how did we get here? We got here because we did not watch when we were being sold a dummy by the world.
Who sold us a dummy?
It's a combination of many people, and not because they were traitors, because they were also unaware. It's the world, geopolitics, it's capitalism, it's leaders who had been in jail, who were battle fatigued, and it's our own comfort because we were tired, we were looking for anything that would have a veneer of stability.
But you are referring to that negotiated settlement. That's the dummy. So if someone sold us a dummy, then who individually, singularly or collectively bought the dummy?
We bought the dummy, but our leaders bought it first. They bought it first not because they were conscious that they were. You know, systems that have money invest in narratives, in selling a dummy that looks good. It's still here today. Those who have money control the media, control the narratives in society, control education, control what becomes a dominant view. And sometimes even poor people can buy a dominant view that they are free when they are not. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was a combination of factors. But I think we know now. We've been sinking deeper and deeper.
But look, obviously when we say we, the dominant force in the negotiations with the African National Congress,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
Yes, there were other parties. I think Azapo did not contest that first election. But so ANC with the dominant, PAC appeared to have been sidelined by that time. They were on the wane already, right? So if that was the ANC, and I mean the whole leadership from outside, and then of course the UDF as we would know it, that were part of it, what should they have done differently then?
Well, I think at the time when they did this, I think you see 1992 or 91, but you must see it as a culmination of attempts by the world and attempts by apartheid itself to transform itself. And what they needed to do was, how do we maintain white privilege without the crisis that we have of apartheid? And apartheid became bad PR for both capitalism and white privilege. So what happens that apartheid, in my view, went through what I call is a PR transformation. And what our leaders at the time missed was an analysis of that moment. And I always say Mandela was a missed opportunity because he was such a great leader, respected by many, and would have defied those forces that were trying to keep the land while they give us the vote. And I think it was a missed opportunity. I always say Mandela was probably one of the greatest leaders we've had. His only travesty is that I think he got too obsessed with sainthood. Wanted to be the man who loves those who, and then forced all of us to bend over backwards rather.
But then, if you're saying he got obsessed with sainthood, would you still then describe him as one of our greatest leaders?
Oh yeah, no one is great because they are perfect, you know.
Yeah, carry on.
Greatness is not perfection, you know, and all of us, by the way. We great in many ways and we have flaws in many ways.
Oh, we certainly do. I'll tell you what, it's a fascinating chat. We're going to run through different things as well with my guest advocate, Muzi Sekakane, who is the author of a book he's just put it together called Odyssey of Liberation, a memoir of a rebel advocate. I'll tell you what, from our side, maybe time for 3 calls maximum or 3 WhatsApps. We don't have much time for more than that. So if you're up for it, you can do so, which we can take as soon as we can. This is the National Pulse.
The Railmen believe a win is more special when defeating giants. Yet Masandawana are confident they are wearing the right boots to triumph on foreign soil. This is the CAF Champions League. Catch FC St. Eloy Lupopo up against Mamelodi Sundowns the Sunday 8 February at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Right, let's continue chatting to Advocate Muzi Sekakane. So, from a point of view of too many compromises, around CODESA and whatever happened then, are there examples of that now? Because when I look at Donald Trump, and I have to say this, and I look at the type of deals he was trying to make with Palestine, Gaza, and like, we'll create a nice resort in Gaza, something obscene, and you look at Greenland and that type of thing. I mean, was it a valid concern from our leaders to say we must avoid a civil war at all costs? Because when you get a civil war, and the Gaza example, Palestine-Israel, is just as an example of that, an unequal civil war, but a civil war it is, and you find that thousands die. Were they then not right in saying we must protect lives no matter what?
No one wants a civil war, Ashraf. But a civil war must not be used in order to perpetuate inequality forever. Because with great leadership, and first, what is great leadership? Great leadership is to make sure that you live in a society that's equal. So the challenge is not for those who are poor to compromise. The challenge is humanity for those who keep wealth for themselves at the expense of others. And so for me, I think we don't have to talk about the civil war. We have to talk about those who keep hoarding the land and the economy to the exclusion of 70% of the population. Those are people who must have what I call a rebirth, a reconnection with truth, a transformation of the soul to know that you can't live in an equal society forever. And whenever poor people want to live a life of dignity, you threaten them with violence. There will be violence. Poverty is violence, Ashraf. Ask most of us, you included.
Well, it's interesting. I mean,
poverty is a civil war against each person.
Because, I mean, to pick up on that, the renowned cricket administrator, Hassan Hawa, famous for the quote saying, "No normal sport in an abnormal society." Talking about do not even mix with white sportsmen at the time. Sure. No normal sport in an abnormal society. Can we apply that same principle? That means no normal living in an abnormal society.
Absolutely. You know, one of the tragedies of modern life is that we've normalized the suffering of others because we put out there something that we think is far worse than living in a dump site, violence, the civil war. So you poor person who lives in a dump site, please tolerate that because the opposite is civil war. No, the opposite is justice. The opposite is truth. And all of those who are owners of capital, who live with fortunes, it is they who must part with that kind of attitude, not the poor that must live in a permanent dump site because they are threatened with civil war if justice happens. And this idea that economic justice, demanding economic justice, will lead to a civil war is itself conformity and then normalizing something that should never be.
Is there one example of a very unequal country where economic justice was demanded and then achieved without leading to fractures and civil war?
Well, first, let's start with the first question. Is there a country that's tried to have equality without being tampered with by countries that don't want equality? If Cuba was left to itself without the blockade, and they've survived for 60-something years with the blockade, if they were left alone, an egalitarian, equal society where everyone lives a decent life would have happened. There are many societies. We can talk about Bolivia, we can talk about Venezuela, we can talk about China. But all of those countries that try to make sure that we live in an equal society are always tempered. If we do this in South Africa, you will see what happened. A president will be stolen, like Venezuela.
As has happened recently.
As it has happened. So, even here, forget other countries, rich people like you, well, not you.
Like
and
you,
me.
okay, thank
we
you.
We look poor, you and me. Is that comfortable people have the luxury of asking for time. Let's wait for 5 years. Let's wait for another. So this whole thing of normalizing poverty is an idea that comes from people who are comfortable.
Okay, we're going to get to the news in 3 minutes, but I must bring it up. In terms of defending people, Jacob Zuma, tell me about it.
Wow, you know, Ashraf, it's a question that comes to me all the time. You know, no advocate is worth the title if they don't represent people who need justice. And people who need justice are not necessarily people you like. In fact, justice, the test for justice is granting it to those you dislike. And so it's tough to represent those people because people can't separate the lawyer from the client. But that also is not accurate. They can't separate a black lawyer from a client because white lawyers have represented Zuma for years without me. but they don't get the same hatred, the same scrutiny. So there is an attitude, an anti-black attitude that cuts across spheres of life. Of course, it's tough because you have to, and many people I've represented, Ashraf, have hated me when I was representing somebody else until they are in trouble. I get a call every day from people who are in trouble who hated me when I represented somebody else.
And then you needed them. But I mean, what about that old adage, you only defend the person that you believe in?
No, I mean, then we would defend nobody. No one walks, my chambers, my office is like a mortuary. No one walks into an advocate's chambers to come and say, hey, SC, things are going.
Life is good.
Life is good. Nobody. So, and I think one of the things you don't want the day I represent you, Ashraf, whatever happens to you, I hope not, is for me to judge you when you walk into my chambers. To judge you because an ex-wife is judging you, society is judging you, and then you walk into a room of a doctor or an SC and he's judging you. And that thing happens because South Africans, I've not met a South African in my entire life who believes that people are innocent until proven guilty.
Leaving aside the Zuma legal issues, do you like him?
I like human beings. I like him. I like him. It's accurate to tell you that, Ashraf, I don't have someone I hate. Truly speaking. I love people, and my only weakness is that I have an obsession with the underdog.
But was Zuma for you an underdog or a top dog?
I think he was the underdog in the context of just being disliked. And he had a case. It's a weakness. I'm not saying this as a strength. I have an obsession with the underdog. And because I'm a son of parents that were the underdog. So every time at home I see our domestic worker being treated badly, I think of my mother.
Okay. We want to news. So quick one-liner. Yeah. The whole Zuma saga, should it have been done differently? I mean, there's been allegations, former president, then stepping down, then we have this case of contempt of court, and the whole thing, what happened in KZN. Just in a quick 1 minute, should it have been done differently?
It could have been done differently. You mean the case that sent him to jail? Oh, yeah, it was probably the most shameful judgment of the Constitutional Court. No one in post-apartheid South Africa should be, in terms of Section 35, be sent to jail without a trial. Nobody. In fact, it will never happen again, I hope. Nobody. And the judgment in a paragraph says we are doing this because this is an extraordinary case and an extraordinary person. What happened to equality before
which means that a reputation precedes
the reason we tolerated it is because we dislike Zuma. But we tolerate a president who hides so much money in sofas.
Okay. Would you represent him?
I have represented the presidency, actually.
He'll knock on your door soon.
But he may knock on my door
Maybe
soon.
he will. More to come. Fascinating chat with Muzi Sekakani. We've got more to come. We've got the markets, we've got the news headlines, we've got sport. But first things first, news headlines.
Quick look at the headlines. The newly appointed NPA head has assured South Africans they will ensure those implicated at the Madlanga Commission are prosecuted. The Police Service Section Head for Quality Management has concluded her testimony at the Madlanga Commission, and 2 VIP protection officers assigned to the mayor of the Madebeng local municipality have been granted bail in the Pretoria Magistrates Court. A full update at 6.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 northbound in Midrand queuing towards New Road. The M1 southbound in Parktown has a crash before Harton Drive, and there's a crash reported on the N12 westbound before Gilulis. In KZN, the M4 northbound has a crash after Bayhead Road Bridge. The N3 northbound in Howick queuing towards Nottingham Road, and a crash on the N3 southbound after Henry Pennington Road ramp. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound has a crash at Meway. The M7 checks Hadwell Drive southbound queuing towards the R3 and Red Junction. And on Main Road in Wynberg, water pipe maintenance underway between Wilson Road and Pierce Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapeli.
Right to me, the name Ben Stokes, top of the agenda.
Absolutely. England Test captain Ben Stokes has suffered a severe facial injury. This is after being struck by a cricket ball. The 34-year-old posted images of heavy swelling and bruising as he recovers from the latest setback. This is following a disappointing Ashes tour. Stokes, who's already battling an adductor injury, remains under ECB review and is still contracted until 2027. He will miss the upcoming T20 World Cup and may next feature for Durham before England's Test series against New Zealand in June. In terms of football, TS Galaxy coach Adnan Beganovic says that the sale of several key players, most recently Puso Detejane and Kulumane Ndamane, has not dented his belief that the Rockets can still mount a serious Nedbank Cup challenge this season.
I don't want to say we lose some players. I already explained that we produce and sell our players only because we want that. We decide in crucial moment to sell our players. Also, we can talk about that part honestly and say if we do that and then we struggle, we are on the wrong way. But I think TS Galaxy in last 3 years, yes, we sell so many players, and then for best teams in South Africa.
Galaxy host Marumo Gallants at the Solomon Stadium on Sunday in the round of 32, aiming to progress and rekindle memories of their remarkable 2019 triumph when they lifted the trophy as a lower division side. Meanwhile, Mamelodi Sundowns head coach Miguel Cardoso has once again called for the introduction of VAR, raising concerns about refereeing conduct.
When we start to have VAR on the matches, the things will go better because there will be no suspicious on no one. Because here in South Africa, it becomes very interesting that the officials from some teams visit the referees in the morning of the matches. You know that? Yeah, but look for that because I saw a photo today. It's important we look for this. I never saw that. First time I see officials from one team visiting the referee from their game in the night. That happened recently, very recently, maybe yesterday. And that's what you need to worry about in terms of football.
Elsewhere, Arsenal can move much closer to winning the Premier League if they beat Sunderland on tomorrow. They are already 6 points clear at the top of the table, and this could increase their lead before Manchester City play a difficult away match against Liverpool. Arsenal are chasing their first league title since 2003 and 2004 season. Aston Villa are currently third, but their recent drop in form has allowed Manchester United, Chelsea and Liverpool to close the gap in the battle for the Champions League qualification next season. In terms of basketball, after a successful fifth season, the Basketball Africa League returns next month, and the sixth season will tip off at the Sunbet Arena Pretoria on the 27th of March. Now, BAL President Amadou Gallo says that it was a no-brainer that they would return to South Africa this year following successful tournaments held in the country over the past few years.
Returning to South Africa and Morocco and Rwanda also speaks to the growing sporting cultures in these countries. We want to deepen our presence and engagement. For the third year in a row, we'll be playing in South Africa, where we've enjoyed tremendous fan interest and also, a beautiful arena, world-class infrastructure in Sunbet. Obviously, our finals have been held almost every season since the beginning. In 2021 in Rwanda, we went last year to South Africa for the first time that the finals were played outside. But we're looking forward to returning to Kigali for our finals this year. And as you know, next year in season 7 would be another opportunity for us to explore playing in another market. So these are the 3 countries where we'll play this year.
In athletics, former South African Coach of the Year Samuel Sebeng has confirmed that newly crowned national 3,000 indoor record holder Tshepo Chite will make his 10-kilometer debut at the Absa Run Your City, Gqeberha, the 10-kilometer, on the 1st of March. Now, Sebeng says that the time is right for Chite to transition to the road and believes that the popular Run Your City series in the friendly city provides the perfect platform. On that note, it is a wrap from my side. Okay,
have a great weekend. It's all about the big World Cup T20 starting, and South Africa, I think, plays on Monday, if I'm not mistaken. To me, thanks for that. We'll talk on Monday. Yeah.
The Glamour Boys want to raise a poster written Amakhosi Ajabulile, but the Green Eagles say they enjoy flying with 3 points. This is the CAF Confederation Cup. Do not miss out on Kaizer Chiefs versus Al Mazrui Sporting Club on Sunday, 8 February at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
For 90 years, one voice has informed, challenged, and connected a nation. SAFM, South Africa's national English public radio station. Established in 1936 as the SABC's very first service, the A program evolving through the English service, Radio South Africa, to SAFM in 1995, shaping thought and strengthening democracy. From a full-spectrum station to a trusted home of news and talk, SAFM continues to lead the conversations 90 years strong. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, Jimmy, as we get to the weekend, what's top of your... in fact, we'll get to Jimmy in just a second. What I can do in the meantime, let's just go back. In fact, I want to just say there's something lighthearted. When we spoke earlier on, you said, hey, we have a mutual chummy.
Yes.
Azar Bam.
I have friends in the profession, but Azar is a brother, so sometimes he really scolds me because he sees me as a younger brother. But I've known him for decades, and
Well, listen, we were in the same class together, and he was a very, very bright student. But
top guy.
I think he's eclipsed me in terms of his own career. So good for him.
He's a top
right.
guy.
I think we can go to the markets now. Jimmy, we are last report for the week. What's top of the agenda?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to our listeners. It seems we're closing out the week in positive territory. Lots to be happy about, especially the announcement that we got from the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition around that new trade deal that they've struck with China. We'll look into that in next week. For now, though, we're closing out the all share 1.2% in the green, the top 40 1.3% in the green, resources 2% up, industrial almost 1.5% up, financial stocks up 0.5%. The commodity markets seem to have rebounded ever so slightly. The platinum price above $2,000 a fine ounce again at 2,083. Palladium back above 1,700 at 1,723. The gold price, $4,950 a fine ounce. Brent crude holding steady, $67.54. The rand having a weaker day, but coming back really strong towards the end of the day. Against the US dollar at the moment, 16 rand 7 cents. At some point, we were closer to 16 rand 30. Against the euro, 18 rand 97. We've broken back below that 19 rand level there. 1 British pound, 21 rand 85. 1 Australian dollar, 11 rand 25. 1 Bitcoin still below 70,000 at 68,300. International markets also mostly in the green, with the exception of Asian markets. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong down 1.2%. But that wasn't the biggest loser in Asian markets. The ASX in Sydney was the biggest loser, down about 2%. At the moment, the US markets are in the green, with the Dow Jones leading the pack. The S&P a close second, almost a 4% up, and the Nasdaq is up a little over 0.5%. As I said, going into next week, I want to take a look at that trade deal that South Africa seems to have announced with China. We're going to see if we can dig into that. Of course, the mining indaba kicks off on Monday in Cape Town. We're going to see if we can dig into that as well. We know we've got the State of the Nation address to look forward to next week, Thursday, so it's going to be a packed week going into next week. So for this weekend, we'll be happy that the rand is closer to 16 rand than 16.50, and that the equity markets are closed out in the green. We'll be back next week with more news, but for now, Ashraf, back to you.
Right, perfect. Enjoy your weekend. We will connect on Monday, Jimmy. In fact, now we've got another 15 minutes or so to go talk to, well, the author of a book called Odyssey of Liberation, a memoir of a rebel advocate. He's the rebel, he says so himself, Advocate Muzi Sikakane, well, SC, right? You do need to get the book. It's quite in depth. I think it's 500 pages, thereabouts?
400.
Yeah, it's in depth and it covers many things from, obviously early years, defining moments, trials and tribulations, and political thoughts as well. Let's just talk about that, defining moments for you in your career.
Yeah, well, first, the defining moment I talk about in the very first page is where I'm born and what I see and what shapes me. The mountains, the people, ordinary people, all of them poor, sharing land with donkeys when a white farmer lives on fertile land. And that's the defining moment for me. The defining moment is getting politicized as a teenager, right? And
how did you get politicized? What happened?
I think I was politicized by the conditions of people I lived with where I was born, just to be conscious about what's happening around me, and then that politicized me, and I became very, very rebellious and probably attracted to black consciousness when I was a teenager. And then when I became a student in tertiary institution, my activism became more organized. That's a defining moment. Yeah, and I think there have been many, becoming a teacher, becoming a lecturer, becoming an advocate, and seeing different spheres with the same challenges, just different. Like the racism I knew when I was a teenager has just been playing itself, the poverty and everything else, even post 1994. And that's been a fascinating observation for me. And then those defining moments when I'm an advocate is also just clients.
And why law? Why did you choose law?
As you'll see in my book, I've done many things. That's why I'm unable to define myself to you, is that I wanted to be a priest. And then I became a teacher, I became a lecturer, I became an advocate. And I think it's because I don't really know what I want to become, except this, is that I am daily, since I knew myself, concerned about the human condition. And so it's difficult for me. And many people say, lawyers must not be political and all of this. It's such a joke.
So you can be neutral when defending clients or advising clients, and almost unemotional.
Yeah.
But there can be you as the person who's a South African, as a human being who's concerned about the things that you see on a daily basis.
No one's neutral.
Yeah.
People play being neutral, but they're not. And lawyers are even good at this, at giving something a veneer of neutrality. Law is not neutral. Law is not neutral. The Palestinians have perished every day when there's international law, and when the United Nations, which I call a multinational prayer group at the moment, doing nothing while there's international law. So many things. And so law itself, don't let anyone tell you that law is neutral. It's a tool of two things: control and transforming society. And you must choose which type of lawyer you want to be.
Which one are you?
I'm the lawyer that believes that law is to achieve justice for everybody, and no lawyer is neutral. And if they are, they do not understand justice and dignity.
Okay, fascinating take. So within your legal work, what has been like a defining moment for you?
It's truly first clients that I've represented, but it's also discovering that I had lawyers in high regard before. And until I joined them and found out that this entire profession that I thought was obsessed with justice is actually a group of people obsessed with themselves and sometimes money. And they frown upon a colleague who was concerned about society. They like being aloof, and I always say lawyers think being obnoxious is a virtue. And for me, that has been a moment of discovery, but clients as well, and discovering that people don't believe in presumption of innocence. No one. I haven't met a lawyer who believes that people are innocent until they are proven guilty. They say so, but they don't.
They know already. up front.
They just don't believe it. It's a lie.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what about this point regarding the judicial system? Is everyone equal before the law?
No.
Why not?
Because law is a subjective product of minds of people. It's practiced by people who have subjective views about the world and about others, and their worldview dominates what they do. And judges themselves are human beings who vote like you and me. It doesn't matter that they hide their views, but actually they have views, and those views are infused in what they do, what they say, no matter how much they pretend the opposite.
Okay, we touched on Zuma, the Zuma factor,
Yeah.
but linked to that is, three things I want to get your thoughts on. Currently with the Zondo Commission, then the Madlanga Commission now, and the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee. Just your thoughts on all three.
Yeah, South Africa has become a place where we just have commissions, which I think are a diversion from the real issues. And so no president in the world appoints a commission whose outcomes they don't know. And if they are caught by surprise by an outcome, they'll stop that commission immediately. So no president in the world has ever been caught napping by a commission. So they
really? So give me examples of that.
Where? There is no commission that has ever not produced something that protects the incumbent.
So are you suggesting that the current, let's talk of the current commission, is set up by Ramaphosa to protect Ramaphosa?
Well, he wouldn't set it up if he didn't know what would happen. I tell you now. And secondly, let me give you an example.
And what would be the outcomes then?
Of this commission?
Yeah.
No, a couple of people that could have been arrested before the commission will be arrested. But that could be done without a commission. Police are there to investigate crimes. Let me ask you now. We were told this is a commission of a criminal justice system, and it has become a commission about police. Where are the judges? Where are the judges? And we've all forgotten.
You mean
where
compromised judges?
No, I'm saying where is the investigation about the judges? We were told when this started, it was about an entire component of the criminal justice system. I tell you now, you're not going to see a judge in that commission being questioned about possibilities of corruption.
Okay, so you're saying a few people will be arrested. I get that. Where the judges point noted. And you're saying that ultimately, if it's set up to maintain the status quo, then the president, right, Ramaphosa's status quo will be maintained and will not be undermined. That's why he allows the commission.
Yeah, politicians never appoint a commission that's going to disturb their incumbency. It never happens anywhere in the world.
There's a couple of voice notes I want to play. Let's just play a couple. Here's one.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. This is Chipapi Mahato in Kimberley. Thank you so much for bringing in the studio one of the greatest people I know who actually liberate many of us from mental slavery. Advocate Moses Kakani, thank you so much for making time to be in the studio. Thank you so much for the gift of the book that you wrote for everyone who love Africa and who love Africans. So thank you so much. I love your book, and I'll be writing a review for my blog. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Ah, there we are. Lovely one. Here's another.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I'm so happy this afternoon that you've invited the man that I appreciate because of his reasoning, Advocate Moses Kakan, the man who's not scared of the system, who always challenges the system. So I'm really happy, and he always encourages us as young black people not to fear the system, but to challenge it, to fight for what belongs to us. Thank you, Ashraf. Thank Babu Moses Kakan.
Thank you.
We appreciate you, Satan.
Sure.
Okay, there we are. In fact, we'll get more comments after this.
The Railmen believe a win is more special when defeating giants. Yet Masandawana are confident they are wearing the right boots to triumph on foreign soil. This is the CAF Champions League. Catch FC St. Eloy Lupopo up against Mamelodi Sundowns the Sunday 8 February at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, we've got about 8 more minutes to go with Advocate Muzi Sikhakhane. As we're talking about his book, we're talking about South Africa. There's so many things. We probably need to get him again to talk about some of the more specific issues in the country in detail. But here's a few more comments from you.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. It's Fugana from Durban. Ashraf, I take my hat off for you and that gentleman you're sitting with. That's one of the best senior advocates we have in the country. And may God keep him and carry him on. But one question, Ashraf. Is Mr. Sikhakhane will be willing, if given, would he ever be able to take over the presidency? Will he ever be willing to take over the presidency and run this country?
Yeah, we'll ask him just now.
And lovely South Africans and your team as well. It's Eddie from Understress. You know, I want to be honest. I want to really apologize to Ndade Sikhakhane because I had another view about him. You know, I like his approach. Maybe I had a problem that he represented the former president, as he said. Yeah, but I like his sharp mind and the truth that he speaks. I know some people will not be comfortable with that, but yeah, great mind indeed. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Eddie. Interesting ones. I mean, so listen. In terms of getting the guests here, hey, I'm the host, but there's a team. There's Denver and there's Keith that puts it all together, and Pusani that amplifies all of it on our social media posts. It's a complete team that gets it all together. But that question about the president, would you?
No, you know, Ashraf, I'm a doer. I'm an activist. I like ideas, you know, and I don't think anybody must have an aim to become a leader. I really have never. I don't want to be a judge. Don't want to be a president. I just want to be a human being that cares about humanity, and that's all, you know. And it gets me into trouble sometimes because I have to say things that people aren't comfortable with, you know. But yeah.
So no, you rule that out. Yeah.
No, I rule that out.
I want to pick your thoughts on, you know, we touched earlier on the Liberation Project we had around the 90s and what happened and the type of negotiations that took place. But what are your thoughts? You made a call on, you know, moral and political reset at a time. Just explain what that means.
I think coloniality took away people's spirits. And so before we talk about material things, I think when people are oppressed and when people oppress, they experience what I call spiritual vacuousness, spiritual degradation. And you've got to start there when you build a society, because spiritual degradation leads to loss of identity, loss of dignity. And until the entire citizenry regains that, your morals will go down. There will be crime, there will be corruption, people will steal from the poor. And those who are fortunate, who've amassed wealth, white people in particular, who've amassed wealth and land, will continue to be arrogant. And I think when we all have spiritual resetting, all of us across the board.
How do we achieve that?
We achieve it through better leadership and improving our relationship with truth.
So spiritual move towards spirituality is, you're saying it's not the domain of religious leaders. It's leadership of the country.
It's leadership of the country. All of us are made up of spirit, physical, and mental. And I think all of these things in a human being must be balanced for the country to be fixed. People steal from others. Politicians are corrupt. People kill others because they have spiritual vacuousness. They are spiritually vacuous. And if you build that, we would also be less greedy. Our politicians will not work for themselves. And people in society, and white people who own the land, who have wealth, will be less arrogant. They will know what they've done to others. You know, and it's all about humanity.
You also call for a more sort of a radicalization of our constitution. Explain that.
Absolutely. I think when you have a constitution whose first preamble does not spell out the problem, our constitution doesn't mention apartheid, not even once, let alone colonization. It tells you from that point there was less commitment to changing what really placed us here. What put us here is what happened to African people. Coloniality, imperialism, and apartheid and racism. You've got to spell that out.
Why do you think those omissions are there?
I think it's because oppressed people sometimes, because they are spiritually defeated, everything they do they do at their expense and to impress the very oppressor. So our leaders and everybody in this country, every time you talk about justice and equality, people want to know if white people will be happy, America will be happy. And so that we've become a country and a world where there are people who are not human and are not important. And the reason, just to come back to law, the reason we don't agree about human rights in society is not about human rights. It's because we don't agree about who's human.
Yeah, it's a good point. If you had a chance to put one question to the president, Ramaphosa, what would you ask him?
I would ask him if him and those around him have had a day of sincerity and honesty to look at what they've done. One day in their meeting, just one day of honesty and sincerity and thinking about how many black people live in the same condition they've lived in for years while they enjoy blue lights.
Okay. Same question to Zuma. What would you ask him?
I would ask him, all of them who are leaders of the ANC, I would ask them to look deep into their hearts and see that instead of us ascending to liberation in their leadership, including him and Mbeki and all of them, we've descended to the gutter, and they must take full responsibility. I would ask him to take full responsibility.
So we got about a minute and a half to go. What for you then? I mean, there's 1,000 challenges facing our country, but what's the biggest, most urgent challenge that needs fixing, that needs surgery ASAP?
Our minds, collective mindset, and socio-economic justice. And if we get those two right, a non-racial society will emerge, a stable, peaceful society will emerge.
So how do we then attempt to get it right?
We get there by going back to the drawing boards. That's why I've called for something I call it the Black People's Convention. But you restart. You start all over. I've called for what is called in political science a second republic. We are scared of knowing that we've messed up our people and we have to go back to where we were in 1992. Go back to the drawing boards, admit to the errors. Even those of us who are comfortable. The reason people are uncomfortable with what I'm saying, Ashraf, is because they are comfortable. Yeah. And many people who are in positions are comfortable. Many of my colleagues don't like politics because they are comfortable. They choose apathy.
Well, let me end with this. It's a question that I often ask because of the work I do with Champion South Africa, which is, what is our national purpose?
Yeah, we don't have it. That's the problem. In fact, you've hit it right there with your question. We don't have a national purpose. We all living like little rats trying to survive on a day-to-day basis. And those who have try to hoard what they have. And those who don't, who are African, fight amongst themselves, fighting about the crumbs they have. And they forget that actually what they need to get is an equitable distribution of wealth, decolonization of education, and strengthen our concern about humanity.
And there we are. The rats fighting for crumbs. That sounds very ominous, but maybe that's a challenge. What is our national purpose? How do we get there? Listen, it's been a privilege talking to you. Let's hope we'll have more in-depth conversations around some specific issues that you brought up in the book and your thoughts as well. Advocate Muzi Sekakani, much appreciated.
Thank you so much to all of you in the studio.
Lots to pick up from there. We'll have a podcast of that. I know that ASAP, and Rusani has put some videos together also up, and you can pick it up on our X platform, SAFM Radio, and you can check out the hashtag The National Pulse. Right now, it's time for the news. Just go on 6 o'clock.
Thank you again, Ashraf. Measures to protect Madlanga witnesses and EU slams TikTok addiction. Good evening. Police and the NPA say the safety and security of witnesses testifying at the Madlanga Commission remains a priority. This comes despite the shooting and killing of Marius van der Merwe, known as Witness D, in November last year. He was shot and killed outside his home following his testimony against Ekurhuleni Metro police officers at the Commission. The Deputy National Police Commissioner for Policing, Tebelo Mosakidi, addressed a media briefing in Pretoria today.
I must indicate that we are not waiting for an incident to occur as Nigerians to respond, but as and when the need arises, we do convene, we do call one another. It's always a physical